Yo, Jonesy, what's up?
Tooth enamel after researchers deliberately stripped it from minerals. You can see all these microscopic holes and honeycomb-like structure. And this is what the enamel looked like after treatment with 10% nanohydroxyapatite. Those pores are now largely covered by newly deposited hydroxyapatite crystals, the same mineral your tooth enamel is primarily made from. And here's the crazy part. Your enamel, the hard outer layer that protects your teeth, can't actually regenerate. Once enamel is physically gone, your body can't grow it back. But there's a difference between losing enamel and losing minerals from your enamel. And this is where the nanohydroxyapatite gets really interesting. In randomized human experiments, nanohydroxyapatite has been shown to remineralize early enamel damage, and longer clinical trials suggest that hydroxyapatite toothpaste may prevent early cavities. And preserving your teeth matters for more than just your smile. Poor oral health, particularly gum disease and ultimately tooth loss, is associated with cardiovascular disease, systemic inflammation, and even cognitive decline. If you're trying to optimize your cardiovascular health, inflammation, and longevity, it doesn't make sense to ignore your mouth. And one of the simplest things you can potentially do is preserve the enamel you still have to keep the teeth protected. So in this video, I'm going to break down what does nanohydroxyapatite actually do, whether it can rebuild the enamel, and whether you should actually use it. Also, if you want to discover your own health percentile to know what level of health you're at with various different types of biomarkers like your fitness markers, body composition, and blood work, what are your bottlenecks and biggest weaknesses, then take the health assessment description. Let's start with what enamel actually is. The enamel is the hard outer layer that protects your teeth. It's made of primarily a crystalline calcium phosphate compound called hydroxyapatite. This means that hydroxyapatite isn't some exotic substance scientists invented. It's the mineral your teeth are made of. But the enamel isn't the same as your bones. Your bones are living tissue. They're constantly being broken down and rebuilt. But the enamel doesn't do that. So if you lose your enamel, you can't regrow a new layer. However, losing minerals from enamel is not the same thing as losing the enamel itself. Eventually, losing minerals from your enamel can become visible as one of these chalky white spot lesions that dentists recognize as early caries. Demineralization can be reversed, but if demineralization continues far enough, then that structure collapses and you develop an actual cavity that's completely different and a lot worse. So if you hear online that the hydroxyapatite toothpaste regrows enamel, then that's not correct. It helps to remineralize the early loss of minerals from the enamel that would otherwise lead to the loss of enamel. So let's look at the actual human studies on this. In 2013, scientists broke down enamel again by demineralizing it. Then they saw the enamel remineralize after treatment with nanohydroxyapatite. In a 2021 study, researched people with already existing enamel damage. In a 2020 randomized trial, 50 people with early white spot enamel lesions used either a 6.7% nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste or fluoride toothpaste for 6 months. Both groups improved, but the white spot lesions shrank significantly more with nanohydroxyapatite. Your teeth. So if you are going to use nanohydroxyapatite toothpaste, here's how to do it. Number one, I wouldn't obsess over exactly 10%. Human data shows remineralization with both 5% and 10% nanohydroxyapatite. But personally, I do prefer companies that actually disclose what concentration and type of hydroxyapatite they're using. Number two, brush twice a day. That's boring, but that's how these products were actually studied. A fancy toothpaste isn't going to compensate for inconsistent oral hygiene. Number three, after brushing, spit out the excess toothpaste, but don't immediately rinse everything away with water. You don't need to sit there with toothpaste in your mouth, but the idea is simply to leave some of the nanohydroxyapatite in contact with your teeth instead of immediately washing it all off. Number four, be careful after major acid exposure. If you've just had something extremely acidic, like soda or coffee, you vomited or had significant acid reflux, don't immediately attack acid-softened enamel with aggressive brushing. Give the teeth some time to recover and rinse your mouth. And number five is the most important, reduce demineralization of your teeth. If you're constantly drinking acidic beverages, snacking all day, you have a dry mouth or uncontrolled reflux, don't just keep adding more toothpaste. About having nicer looking teeth or cleaner teeth. It's about general longevity. Damage to your teeth and damage to your gums leads to damage and inflammation directly to your rest of the body through the nervous system, because your teeth are small organs that are connected to the rest of your body.
I'd have to try that. All right, so big surprise. Karmelo Anthony's a bigger piece of shit than we all thought.
The Karmelo Anthony text messages are insane. Just look at some of these examples.
Prosecutors say Anthony repeatedly threatened to murder his girlfriend in text messages, some of them saying, "How many bullets you want coming out of your chest?" and "I'm going to get you," expletive. He also threatened her with a knife in one message and told her in another, "When I stab somebody, I'm going to lick their blood off the blade." There are also text messages where he admits on at least 2 occasions to punching girls in the face. In a text conversation with a friend in 2023, prosecutors have messages from Anthony where he wrote, "I'ma shoot the school up tomorrow." In 2024, prosecutors say Anthony even attempted to assault a teacher.
You gotta see this to believe it.
Speaking of the Karmelo Anthony case.
Bruh.
I don't care. This guy's a fucking retard. He's a black supremacist, whatever. Like, the kid's dead, too, so... And race clearly didn't have anything to do with this. Thanks, Mac Daddy.
All right, people, today we are back talking about the Karmelo Anthony case, and it has some crazy, and I mean insane developments you will not want to miss. All right, for those of you who don't know, Karmelo Anthony is a 17-year-old who went to a track meet in Texas, pulled out a knife, and stabbed another kid after he was asked to leave that kid's tent. The other kid's name was Austin Metcalf. It became a whole racially charged thing. And eventually he went to trial and was convicted of murder and is doing 35 years in prison.
Let me interrupt you. The verdict is in. It is 35 years is the sentence, not under passion. 35-year sentence for Karmelo Anthony, eligible for parole after serving half of that time.
Now, this became a huge, ridiculous issue about race because Karmelo Anthony happened to be black, the person he stabbed was white, and it became this whole race issue, which was ridiculous. So, where are we at now? Well, Karmelo Anthony asked that the original judge, the trial judge, be removed because they said that he had some biases against Karmelo Anthony that he had expressed during an interview. Another judge agreed with that, so Karmelo Anthony's original judge was removed, and now a new judge is looking over the case to determine if Karmelo Anthony should be granted a new trial.
Where the judge at the center of that high school track meet stabbing trial has been removed as the convicted teen is appealing his conviction.
It's a total fucking joke they try to appeal. Like, his parents raised all that money for a legal defense, and then he just got a public defender, and they pocketed the money. Like, it's just a total joke.
Okay, so now this is where things get interesting. See, Karmelo Anthony's attorneys and the prosecution had what's known as a gentleman's agreement. And the agreement was simple. No past bad acts about Karmelo Anthony or the victim, Austin Metcalf, could be brought up during the trial because it would just muddy everything up. But that limitation works both ways. Where now you couldn't put, let's say, Karmelo Anthony up as this good kid if he's been doing all of this other crazy negative stuff in the past. And that was the same for the prosecution. If you knew Austin Metcalf had all these issues in the past, you couldn't make him out to be some saint. You just had to kind of just leave it alone. Now, Texas Rules of Evidence already deals with this issue. Here is Rule 404 from the state of Texas. We're going to look at Rule 8.3, exceptions for the victim. In a criminal case, subject to the limitations of Rule 412, a defendant may offer evidence of the victim's pertinent trait. If you wanted to show that the victim was someone who provoked people all the time, then that would be a pertinent trait that the defendant can show to say, hey, look, I was defending myself because this guy has this reputation. But in reverse, the prosecutors can offer evidence to rebut it.
You're a retard. Have fun with a timeout.
About the defendant. So it's a double-edged sword. The defendant opens the door, but the prosecutor can say, well, hold on, you got your own issues. And let's go to B. In a homicide case, the prosecutor may offer evidence of the victim's trait of peacefulness to rebut evidence of the victim that the victim was the first aggressor. All right, so how does this work practically? Well, it's really all up to the defense. If the defense wants to bring up the fact that the victim was aggressive, they're opening the door that the prosecutor can bring up the fact that the defendant was an aggressor. That's essentially how it works. And they can bring up their past acts to prove that. Now, if you have a defendant who has a lot of bad past acts and you've got a victim with a whole bunch of bad past acts, generally they'll say, well, nobody brings up anything. And that's what happened in this case. Now, this is Carmelo Anthony's new legal team, and they are challenging this gentleman's agreement. They're saying,
wait, so his family's actually paying for lawyers now?
That their client was unable to testify because if he did, the prosecutor said that they would use his past bad acts against him when he testified. So they're saying that essentially violated the agreement because the prosecutor said they weren't able to do that, they shouldn't do that, and now they want a new trial. But that's one reason out of many they want the new trial. So they went to court, and while they were in court, we get to learn about this past bad acts that both sides were trying to hide. The prosecution didn't want the public to see Austin Metcalf's prior bad acts, the stuff that he was doing. And the defense didn't want the public to see Carmelo Anthony's little bad acts, the stuff that he had done. So because Carmelo Anthony's team is asking for a new trial, these things had to become public. So they did. Now, we're going to watch a news report who are going to go over both the bad acts of Austin Metcalf and the bad acts of Carmelo Anthony and the things that they've done in the past. And I'm going to say, it is pretty insane. It's like Carmelo Anthony stuff is insane. Austin Metcalf stuff is pretty bad too. But Carmelo Anthony stuff is like next level stuff. Now, before we get into the video, here's a quick message from this video sponsor, ZocDoc. Okay. All right, so here we're going to start with Austin Metcalf's background report. Now, remember, this wasn't allowed in because the defense attorney was like, we don't want our guys' bad stuff to come in, so we're not going to talk about your guys' bad stuff. So
Hey, Kenny,
let's start
what's
with
up?
the victim. These are the bad and troubling things that were in Austin Metcalf's past that wasn't presented to the jury.
About Austin Metcalf's background report that was never presented to the jury. CBS News Texas has also learned new details about Austin Metcalf's background. Metcalf and his brother Hunter were once caught spray painting graffiti, including KKK Kill All Blacks and Heil Hitler, along with the N-word, and were sentenced to 12 months of juvenile probation. Records reveal they
It's probably literally a meme.
reportedly told authorities, "We did some dumb stuff. We did some vandalism." There are several documented
You know the race baiters are gonna love that.
Yeah.
KKK, Heil Hitler, we did some stuff. They're gonna play. Oh, he was a
Probably
racist. He
literally
was a
a meme.
racist. But I still want to make it very clear because he did. This is the reason why this stuff isn't usually let in the court, because people have the tendency to say, "Oh, he did that bad thing back then. That means he did this bad thing now." That's not the case. So again, and let's not forget too, this is years ago when this guy was 17. So we're talking about when he was 13, 14 years old, when these things were done. Same thing with Carmelo Anthony.
instances of Austin using racial slurs in school, and in 2023, Austin was accused of bullying a black student in class. In 2018, while still in elementary school, Austin and his brother were accused of bullying and assaulting a female, which led to his arrest.
When they were 13, okay.
He was arrested in elementary school. Woo. This background for Austin Metcalf is not helpful. It's not helpful at all.
During an argument in 2024 with another female student, Austin allegedly knocked her to the ground and punched her in the stomach. He was also kicked out of a football game and texted someone later, "I was about to beat the expletive out of those kids." At a previous track meet, when another student alerted Austin that someone not on their team, quote, "behind our bench was talking wild," Austin reportedly replied, "Kill that MF." During the 2023-2024 school year, he received in-school suspension twice. School disciplinary records from April 2022 to May 2020.
VG. Can you recite these Romoji lyrics? If the Japanese is too hard, then I am happy with the English translation. Heart emoji. I can wait all stream if now's a bad time.
The fuck is this stupid shit? Akiru ne mona chichugo kizumedu zenso tehido sangu shuno kodo ga taragero naka bakamono ga kite kururada kudavarizu konai no kojumo yaya shubin kenzai no shucho mo tena no yowaso ni yoro loto no mo ara yuma Kuchu Rakakuja Hamano no Bakumono wa Tsusugushina Nasu Subiga Naku Kazuru Kamikokyu to Sekyu Hadaraki Yamanabe Jitsu Dake Koko Niar Kanon Sama Yahu Doke Nate Haranotashi no Mo Narakasumi Imo Nikyu Mo Sogetsu Mo Hone Dake Dataharu Korai Atsutuki Sumiroku Di Hito no Kyosho O Kawase Kawase Antiga Sutu Uda Utaimo Ikashima Du Uti Ida Senjomo Bakumo Go Kide Kawerade Surakonde Ida Ona Hada Kurashi Jibu Gatoi Yamashimino Ofunzukiri Suru No Ichikusana ni Gato Kido Ado Imani Kureta Hime ga Garu Kyotoshi no Naka Eat Ida Sugata to Chigu Yatsu ni Nasu Sube Gya Naku Furu Kyoshi o Meet Ida Take ya Agake Chikara Dake Koko ni R Kamishima ya Doko Nante Seika Hirasomo Shurnako Chimo Miyomo Kido no Nishido di Misuru Kurai Adaraki Sumeru di Hido no Koro something Mina Chigata Mina Shizuero Chujuju Bobo Chinese words. There you go. Thanks for the donation, dude.
Can you not, dude?
24 revealed that Austin reportedly called a teacher the B word and used profanity. He told a school official that he couldn't control it and wasn't aware that it was coming out of his mouth.
So I'm gonna say it. All right. So we got a kid, racial slurs, beating up girls, doing all this crazy stuff, right? This guy's a teen. This is a wild boy. So now we're getting some, he's aggressive. Now, if the defense put this up, this would have maybe been like, this guy who we're talking about it was pretty aggressive, right? This guy's pretty aggressive. And Karmelo Anthony had a reason to be fearful of this guy. Look at this past stuff. He's punching his girlfriend in the stomach.
Why wouldn't you just rinse with fluoride instead of using that unproven toothpaste? Thanks for the donation, dude.
But we haven't got to the other side yet, because you think this is bad. We haven't got to the other side. I've seen this already. We've got the other side is even more insane than this. This white boy is insane. But Karmelo Anthony, his stuff is even more insane. So I see why they made that deal. Let's put it in.
Yeah, he was a retard when he was 13. Whoopie fucking diddly do.
But just imagine, with all of this that we're showing you, Karmelo Anthony was the one even more afraid to let his stuff come out. This is horrible. Now, and I would say this.
How are you and Pat Jordan doing?
Good, thanks, 21st.
Karmelo Anthony was the sweet, gifted, preacher's kid that they were trying to make him out to be. This would have came in, and I think he would have had a better chance at his trial if it did.
In 2024, on at least 5 occasions, Austin saw a counselor regarding his anger and rage during a football game. In 2021, he got banned from attending basketball games for a season after yelling profanity at a player. Metcalf also got suspended after he and another student were talking about bringing a gun to school the following day. But the never-before-released details...
Okay, so that's Austin Metcalf, and at last they were told about bringing to school a
This kid looks like an inbred fucktard.
gun to school, but that don't seem to materialize. He was suspended. He got a lot, but I gotta say this too. some of that stuff was kind of like boys will be boys type stuff. Some of that stuff was like, yo, you kind of a little wild. But we also got to understand who we're talking about. We're talking about a teen, preteen, that type of thing. So we have to also look at it in that lens. And we're talking about all this stuff. So the incident happened when they were 17. So all this stuff happened before they were 17. So we're talking about 16, 15, 14, elementary school, for instance. So understand that in that code. So now that's some damning evidence. And I think if that came out during trial, it does make you think like, oh, this kid may have had something on his shoulder. The argument of him attacking Karmelo Anthony seems more plausible after hearing that. But you've only heard one side of the story. Let's see the other side.
Why should I explain to you what T3 does when you can literally just Google that?
Anthony's early years in Louisiana, up to the day of his arrest for murder, are also disturbing. On the day that Karmelo Anthony would fatally stab Austin Metcalf, prosecutors say he sent this text message at 1 a.m., which said, quote, "I'm low-key on the verge," and then emphasized it. Later in the morning, on April 2nd, 2025, and hours before Anthony would kill Metcalf with a knife at a high school track meet, prosecutors say Anthony's girlfriend reported to a Centennial High School staff member that
Dodo.
In the previous video, we took a close look at one side of a cat. Let's see what the other side holds. As you can see, this side houses 6 more highly sophisticated rooms. Let's zoom in and take a closer look. Starting at the bottom left, the bakery. To feed the inner working cats, a feline chef bakes plain biscuits. The chef begins by signaling the cat to start kneading. The kneading motion is transmitted inside to power the mixer. Once the dough is ready, the chef flattens it, cuts it into biscuit shapes, and bakes it. A feline waiter delivers the baked biscuits to the rooms. Next door is the space-time control room. A gyroscope is mounted on top of a crystal-powered space-time manipulator. The gyroscope precisely tracks the cat's orientation. Once the cat is upside down or sideways, the time operator immediately pulls the lever, slowing time down universally. The space operator rotates the entire space-time around the cat, returning it to an upright position. The time operator then sets time back to normal, letting the cat land safely on his feet. Next is the state of matter room. A cat can exist in 3 states: solid, liquid, or gas. A feline atomic engineer wears a VR headset that displays what the cat sees. Depending on the environment the cat is navigating, the engineer dials in the reactor to achieve the correct state. Back on the upper floor to the left is the fur analysis lab. A fur scientist orders a fur sample at a random time. The sample is then analyzed for fluffiness, water resistance, and insulation. The findings are recorded to inform the formula for the next fur patch. The scientist then loads the old sample into an air-powered cannon and fires it out of the cat to keep the lab clean. Next door is the energy room. A cat's internal systems run on dark energy stored in a special battery. When the energy runs low, an automatic system activates the charging state, which sets the cat into the loaf position. This position concentrates the surrounding dark energy to recharge the battery. Finally, we arrive at the interdimensional portal. This room appears mysterious, yet it answers the most mysterious question of all. If a cat is operated by inner cats, how do those inner cats work? If we zoom in on one operator cat, we find the same system. Does that mean there are infinite cats all the way down? Let's zoom back out and see the function of the interdimensional portal. Every operator cat is a real cat that comes through the portal to work a shift inside another cat, then goes home when it's done. This creates a self-sustaining network of cats operating other cats. So there you have it.
That's good.
My son is absolutely going to love this. NYC.gov. Reading by my house.
Yeah. He's trying to, like, Islamify the U.S. President Trump drop his truth nuke post. Wow, study this chart. Afghanistan war, 543 weeks. Iraq. Yeah. Yeah, so far. That's good. It's a nice hello smell. That's good. Thanks, Dodo.
That Anthony was engaging in stalking behavior, to include but not limited to driving by her home and refusing to allow her to end their relationship. Also in the
Okay, so, you know, he can't let an ex-girlfriend go. He said he's on the verge, you know. Well, it seems like if that on, I'm not sure if that on the.
The Iran war has been 6 months. WTF is that retarded post talking about saying Iran has been only 6 weeks. Lol, they got weeks and months mixed up. Idiot.
They might be counting from a different point. Who the fuck knows? Thanks, though, Sid. Dodo. Kind of in the mood for pickles. That looks good. Didn't know Thailand had this issue.
Of arson and bomb attacks that hit the country's southernmost region were coordinated strikes carried out by ethnic Malay separatists. At least 3 people were injured in some 78 incidents that were carried out across 4 provinces that are Muslim majority, unlike the predominantly Buddhist areas to the north. Since 2004, more than 7,000 people have been killed in these provinces during a long-running insurgency.
Yeah, Muslims.
Or let's go to journalist Tim Newton, who covers Thailand and the region on his news channel attacks and
on Saturday evening, and it's actually continued throughout the weekend. But on Saturday night, there were 51 seemingly coordinated attacks, and that went all the way through into Sunday and even into Sunday night, although they were starting to, there basically has been peace over the past 24 hours. But those 51 attacks on Saturday night were in 3 southern provinces in Thailand, which are right on the Malaysia border. And most of the attacks were in the province of Narathiwat, which...
I wouldn't think so. And also, what is the plan? I mean, we've been building up to this economic D-Day announcement, and the announcement turns out to be more warnings about stuff that we may do to unnamed countries in the future. And so, as you rightly point out, there isn't much left to do other than prevent countries from doing any business at all with Iran. And the number one country that we would be talking about in this situation is China. And Trump has a meeting coming up with Xi Jinping. And I think that's why Secretary Treasury Bessent did not mention any names, because he didn't want to mention China. And it remains to be seen whether the administration is willing to be tough on China, because Trump was not tough on China when he visited Xi Jinping.
Well, right. I mean, also, it's, the whole idea of we're not going to trade with you if you trade with them, it just can't add up when it comes to China, right? That's the situation of the leverage, the trade relationship, but just to be blunt. And Iran is pushing back already, right? The deputy foreign minister calling out the threat, saying it doesn't add up, if Iran's capabilities have been destroyed and dismantled. And you write, because of this war, quote, the dominant power in the region going forward will be Iran, not the United States or Israel's. For years, the world has been dealing.
That is a bizarre statement.
With an Iran constrained, it will now discover what Iran unleashed looks like. I mean,
they literally have no military anymore.
Robert, look, that's a stunning thing to say. You look at this over an entire career.
Yeah, that's a bizarre statement. It's this bullshit. Estrogen affects your cholesterol, so would not surprise me. So yeah, thanks, Dodo.
The Verge message was related to him trying to hurt somebody or his thing with his girlfriend, because he was breaking up with his girlfriend at the time. So I just don't know. And that shows me, she's like, hey, he's stalking me. He won't let me go. So
a 75-page filing. Prosecutors say Anthony had previously been accused of stealing.
Didn't know Elizabeth Holmes was this based. Would you do a cage match, Hassan, if you got paid?
She's literally committed like corporate fraud. She's a narcissistic liar. At least she doesn't like Hassan. Thanks, Trump. They have no navy anymore, just speedboats and drones, but that's enough to hold the global economy hostage, clearly. Well, it's not. It's just the U.S. won't commit to finishing off Iran for whatever reason. So it never mattered that they didn't have a navy and their armed forces have been largely untouched. Their command structures being completely and utterly fucked, and just because they have people, it doesn't mean they can do anything. If they have no armor, no vehicles, no aircraft, no navy, what are they going to do? Just a bunch of dudes with AK-47s and some drones. Thanks, though, Sid.
His girlfriend's phone, and in October 2024, wrote a to-do list for his girlfriend about how to deal with, quote, weirdos, which included the line, say some slick, like my boyfriend kill people.
I don't know. That's kind of like a nothing thing to me. Like, okay, this stuff isn't arising to where if we stopped right now and I'm Karmelo Anthony, I'm like, yeah, put my stuff in and put his stuff in. His stuff is a lot worse. But again, we just started with this. There's a lot more to this video.
There are also text messages where he admits on at least 2 occasions to punching girls in the face.
So now we have this equal thing, right? We got Metcalf, who the one girl he punched in the stomach and was suspended. This guy, he's saying he's punching girls in the face. So now we have 2 people who seem to have aggressive tendencies here.
Prosecutors also found text messages from 2021 between Anthony and another student about robbing someone of $300. There were also text messages.
Robbing somebody for $300. That's not good. So now you got... So the other kids, when they're 13, 14, they're spray painting Heil Hitler and KKK, stuff like that, hating black people. This guy is robbing people and punching girls in the face. So neither one of these young men are the pillars of the community as we were led to believe. It seems like from their text messages and background reports.
Where Anthony talks about a fight and punching someone so hard he had to stop fighting. In 2023, prosecutors say Anthony told a friend he was going to vandalize someone's house in Austin, saying, quote, "I just feel like it. I got a grudge." In 2021, Anthony told a friend he had been.
That's a cool story and I love cool stories, but US and Israeli intelligence assessments estimate that Iran has retained roughly 50% to 70% of its pre-war missile stockpile and mobile launchers.
Yeah, and if they try to use them, they'll get blown up, so. Thanks, Sid.
Been suspended from school for 3 days for fighting, saying, quote, "They said next time I do some, I get recommended for expulsion." In a text conversation.
So he's getting recommended for expulsion. He's doing a lot of fighting. These were two very aggressive kids who just came together at the wrong time.
With a friend in 2023, prosecutors have messages from Anthony where he wrote, "I'm gonna shoot the school up tomorrow."
He's a low-key school shooter now. This is, but the other kid said he's going to bring a gun to school, but he didn't say he was going to shoot the school up. So now that it was like this, right? It was Metcalf and Anthony was down here, and it was creeping. Now I think we're about here now. Now we're like, this is not looking good. I'm gonna shoot the school up tomorrow. That's not a good look.
With my blick, but later sends messages saying I would never actually do that.
So he'll never.
In a 2024 text thread, prosecutors say Anthony admitted to carrying a firearm, telling a friend before a party that he would have the gun in my pocket. There are other message threads where Anthony also mentions.
They got him. Now remember, this is a teenager. He's holding the gun. He's taking guns to parties and stuff. This is an adult. We're not talking about an adult. We're talking about a teenager. We're talking about somebody who's less than 17 years of age. And these are the pictures he's taking.
Carrying a gun. After numerous suspensions for fighting while attending.
Numerous suspensions for fighting. Again, and the reason why I keep stopping it and bringing you guys back to it, because remember, we're trying to figure out who was the aggressor, who was the initial aggressor or that type of thing, or what caused this. And it seems like both of these kids had chips on their shoulders, but Anthony, he seems like he's had his chips were a lot worse than Austin Metcalf's chips.
Attending school in Louisiana, there are messages between Anthony and his girlfriend after he moved to Frisco. In one message thread, she suggests he should sit for a while, and he replied, "Yeah, and punch people, maybe run sometimes. I have to. It's like a priority for me. I like punching people."
Yeah, I'm at the point now where if I'm the defense attorney, I'm like, yeah, we don't want any of this stuff in. We don't want none of our stuff in. Let's not say nothing about the Metcalf, and we don't want them to say anything because this stuff is starting to get really, really crazy.
When I get mad, I see red. When I get mad, I black out. When I get mad, I can't control myself.
You know what that sounds like? That sounds like murder to me, right? I get so mad, I black out. I can't control myself. Well, that's what he was convicted of, right? He got so mad, I can't control myself. I stabbed the kid. This is like a confession. If I'm on the jury, so I see right now, Metcalf's original defense team was smart not letting this crap in.
Prosecutors also produced messages where Anthony admits to getting high and drinking alcohol, and even talking about selling drugs to get guns. In 2024.
Selling drugs to get guns. So we got some serious crime. We got drug trafficking. We got firearm trafficking. This beating up girls, armed robberies. Like, this is crazy. And people were making. I thought Karmelo. They were talking about how great GPA is. He's honor roll. He's this. This guy's a walking felony right now.
Prosecutors say Anthony even attempted to assault a teacher, saying, "I put my hands and face and everything." Also in 2024.
Tried to assault a teacher. Damn. Assaulting other students isn't a problem. Matter of fact, he was doing it so much, they suspended him a whole bunch of times. Yeah.
Or messages obtained by prosecutors suggest Anthony tried to bring a weapon into the State Fair of Texas.
This guy, it doesn't seem like Anthony was going to stay out of prison for too long. This guy was a menace. Wow. I thought Metcalf was bad, But Anthony is like at another level here.
Asking a friend if the state fair got metal detectors. When he was told yes, his friend responded, "You got the poker?" "Yeah, I might have to toss it," replied Anthony. Prosecutors say Anthony admitted to stealing a watch and earbuds in separate burglaries in Collin County.
We got to put a felony counter up here, right? Robbery felony, guns in schools felony. Like, he got so many felonies out here, right? Now we got multiple burglary felonies. What the hell? Like, I thought Austin Metcalf was bad, but he's got a couple of issues too, right? But these felonies, he's admitting to multiple first-degree felonies in text messages. Wow. He's the statute of limitations. Well, he may have been too young to even be prosecuted for this, but these are multiple felonies, people.
And also to bring...
Found this cat near my home, even though I'm in the USA. Would you have taken him? I don't know. Might be somebody's cat. Some people just let their cats out, so I wouldn't just pick up a random cat. Thanks for that donation, dude. Would react to any of the Love Don't Judge clips. I don't know what the hell that is.
Bringing a weapon onto a Frisco school campus, saying this about his girlfriend. "She went in my bag to get my computer, and I said no, and she still went in it and grabbed it, and my gun and my knife and some other stuff fell out."
He's bringing a gun and a knife to school. Yeah. I'm going to tell you guys this right now. It was right this kid got 35 years in prison. I thought when I saw the Austin Metcalf stuff after seeing that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, maybe this guy got too. But now after seeing this kid, he's a walking felony case. Austin Metcalf is no saint at all, by any means, right? He was doing his craziness too. But this, like I told you, this is at another level.
There are numerous unreleased photos and
this kid's just a dumb thug. He would have killed somebody eventually.
videos of Anthony holding firearms and making threats. And authorities found a note.
Like, where's his parents at? Where's his parents at?
His parents are pieces of shit. We know that.
Right. This kid is a thug. I don't know. I feel bad because, you just don't know how much you're misled by the media. They misled us about Karmelo Anthony. This kid, just from what we've
liberal mainstream media at its finest,
heard, it sounds like he has credibly been accused of committing multiple high-level felonies with weapons, without weapons, robberies, burglaries, you name it, he's done it. And a murder. He just was checking off the, what's next? Murders on the list. This is pretty insane stuff.
Note on Anthony's phone with a long list of disturbing racial tropes and slurs about blacks, whites, and Hispanics.
So he hates white people. He hates Mexicans.
Sup VG, this morning I pinned my front delt for the 4th time. My shoulder hurts to lift up and shift my manual car. I had pins and needles in my forearm that has gone away, and my shoulder blade is feeling tingly. No serious pip and no swelling/redness.
You probably just hit a nerve. Just avoid injecting that exact spot. Thanks, I am indeed Somalian.
People. The other guy says he hates black people. So you got somebody who hates white people, Mexicans, and looks like black people too. And the other kid saying I hate black people, and they meet. And there's a bomb that blows up. We got to come together, people. This is insane.
In one message.
Yeah, his parents are degenerate pieces of shit. They just tried to pocket all the money they got through donations.
Thread, prosecutors say Anthony wrote,
No
"I
wonder
hate
he
gay
wound
people."
up like this.
Anthony hates gays, whites, Mexicans, has an issue with black people too. The other kid just hates black people, which is bad enough, but Anthony said, well, hold my beer. I hate everybody. Blacks, gays, you name it, I hate them. Wow.
Prosecutors say Anthony repeatedly
There's more.
He threatened to murder his girlfriend in text messages.
He's threatening to murder his girlfriend now. He's threatening to murder his girlfriend. How many bullets you want coming out of your chest? And this is a guy who's armed all the time. This is not a threat you just like not take serious, right? Guns is dropping out his bag, guns and knives, and we in school. And I'm his girlfriend. He talking about how many bullets I want in my chest. Yeah.
Some of them saying, how many bullets you want coming out of your chest, and I'm going to get you expletive.
No, that says, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to get you. I'm going to beat you. That's what that says. He misread that. We caught that.
He also threatened her with a knife in one message and told her in another,
how could BLM support this guy?
Well, it's BLM. So this is exactly the type they support. Thanks, Dodo.
when I stab somebody, I'm going to lick their blood off the blade.
Wow. All right. So, I'm going to say it. If I was a defense attorney for Karmelo Anthony, I'm not letting none of that come in.
Yeah, no
His
shit.
package of stuff is so damning that I think he would have gotten more time in prison. Because don't forget, he could have said, hey, look how bad the white boy is. Look how bad Metcalf is. But the prosecutor said, okay, well, let's look how bad you are. Karmelo Anthony was a walk-in felony. And again, this was before he was 17 at the stabbing. So all this came before that. 16, 14, 15. He's doing all this, taking guns to school, robbing people. Like, it's crazy, the amount of stuff he's threatening to kill and stab his girlfriend and threatening to shoot her up and all this other stuff. Trying to take guns into state fairs. His parents failed him. And all that stuff about him being some good, honest captain of the football team, captain this, this is all bull. It's all bull. This is a thug. To be fair, too, we were sold a whole bunch of lies about the Metcalfs, too. Let's not pretend. We were sold a whole bunch of lies. But the lies for Karmelo Anthony, they sold us a boat full of lies, right? Where one is a truck full of lies. They said, no, we're going to go up. We're going to send you a.
Yeah, Karmelo Anthony should have just got life. He should have never been let out. Kid's just fucking retard. So there's some interesting shit.
Did you hear that Eli Lilly is now officially suing 6 individual companies? It's not like a group lawsuit. They're going after 6 separate lawsuits for research companies, online research sites, as well as compounding pharmacies that are already selling retatrutide, which is technically still an unapproved drug in phase 3 trials. And their goal is to try to shut this down, man. So the question is going to be, I've got some info I'll share here, but the question is going to be, will Lilly basically shut down research chems as we know them?
No, they're not going to do shit.
Here's some of the details. 6 federal lawsuits. They filed them all on August 12, 2026. They named the 6 companies. 4 of these are especially relevant to us because they're research chem sites. They cite that FDA has not approved this. We're still in phase 3 trials. They're seeking approval in 2027. What makes
these just sound like stupid edgy kids, honestly. Having the cranial constitution of a donut and ruining their lives as a result.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Greek.
What's different is they aren't just coming after the compounding pharmacies. They're saying that you cannot legally sell this stuff to the consumer. And then here's the big factor. They're coming after the idea of selling things for research purposes only. So they're trying to set a precedent that
they already ruled on this. So, yeah. They're just throwing a hissy fit. This isn't going to go anywhere.
That is not okay. Research that doesn't fly. In fact, they cited, of all places, they cited Reddit to go through Reddit and say that they're looking at all of this like user discussion of various people talking about their experiences with particular companies that are being sued, and talking about how they're dosing it and all of this. They're not only coming after these companies, they're also...
You can find Reddit forums where people are taking high-dose Benadryl to get high. Are they gonna like ban Benadryl and make it like prescription only?
In strong contact with social media. They want to basically shut down social media. They've cited over 14,000 posts that are supposedly advocating Retta selling it. And they're also trying to work with not only the FDA, but all of these companies are getting reported. I think it was over 200 people and businesses have been reported to the FDA, the Department of Justice, and state agencies, law enforcement, and licensing boards. And they've reported 14,000 websites, ads, social media posts, and products across, listing over 100 different countries.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their initial interest is...
Yes or no, do your parents know you're gay?
Yeah, thanks, dude.
Is the GLP stuff because it's in direct conflict with their product.
Right.
And we've never had a product that's been so strong in the black market that's also had such a large pharmaceutical interest as well. So this is the first time we've had this clash.
Yeah.
The FDA and the Justice Department will like this because what it basically means is Eli are funding their investigation. So they don't, at the end of the day, these departments, investigational departments for federal businesses, federal law or whatever it is, they still have to answer a budget. They still have to justify their expenditure. And one of the things where peptide companies have got away with things in the past is a lot of it is because the cost to prosecute just isn't worth what the return's going to be.
Yeah.
But if Eli are picking up the tab, we could see federal agencies jumping on the back of them and using that as a way to attack.
I don't think they care. They're a little too busy with fentanyl. And again, like the U.S. government has already ruled on like peptides being fine with the research exemption thing.
The peptide research companies, I mean, Eli's only real interest is GLP because that's what's taking money out of their pockets.
Right.
But we could find a bit of a collaboration goes on here, and then it becomes a broader sweep on research full stop. Because let's be honest, most of the research sites do a very shit job of hiding the fact that they're marketing this to users.
Yeah, it's like research purposes only, wink, wink.
Yeah, I mean, there's most sites trip themselves up because they'll put human studies on there or they'll put human dosing criteria on there and information of that nature.
Well, even if they don't, Rick Collins had mentioned that there's also a responsibility of the company to sell to research facilities. So if you look at their client list, their customer list, and you see what their orders are, is this going to Dave Crossland over in Yorkshire? Or, is this going to the South Palo research facility? Who's this being addressed to? Who's buying this stuff? Is it an individual?
The other factor as well is that their whole stock list is research peptides that have shown human advantage. None of the products they sell are purely research chemicals for general research. I mean, I think there's a university in England that has a research business that sells research peptides.
Okay.
And when you go on there are a few of the peptides that we're familiar with, but there's a lot of shit that you'll have never fucking heard of.
Because it's for legit research.
Because it's legit research. Whereas you go on one of the peptide companies that our community is in links with, and every single product has some research around human advantage with it. Yeah. There is no products on there that are for, experimental within a a laboratory for a reaction of this, that, or the other that don't include some form of human usage. So, yeah, it won't take a lot of evidence to support an argument in court that you are using this to market to people, and the most.
Yeah, that's just horseshit. It's not gonna fly. There's the research chemical exemption thing. Again, they're just throwing shit at the wall, seeing what sticks.
Most of them won't have a defense.
So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is that they are closely working with credit card processing companies, payment processors, social media companies, e-commerce platforms, and shipping companies. So
oh no, we're gonna have to use fucking crypto now. It's just such a waste of time.
That if they can use like a 5-pronged approach, I think they definitely could make an impact. I remember back in the day, it used to be just regular.
Dude, these pharmaceutical companies are just like fucking evil. Fucking can't stand them.
Regular procedure to pay with your credit card at a research company. They took that away from us 2000, and that was back during the Viagra thing. So Viagra was still a patented drug. Bodybuilders were buying it through research companies, and they got involved. Law enforcement got involved to stop that. I think this is the second coming of that. Will it actually end these companies? Absolutely not. If there's a demand, there's going to be a supply. And the reality is, I mean,
what we might see is a turnover of companies where the financial prosecute, because obviously they're gonna sue the shit out of them, and that's gonna bankrupt companies. Yeah. And you'll probably find companies reinventing themselves on a regular basis and that sort of shit going on. But like you said, there's just too much demand. I mean, the market's so big that somebody will do it.
They're just going to drive it underground and nothing's going to change.
I don't see it going away. I can just see it getting quite... I mean, let's be straight. Research companies have got fucking lazy and slack as fuck when it comes to hiding what they do, because they haven't had any prosecution. They haven't had any problems. And so as a result, now they very openly market what they do. They market dosing to humans. They don't really take a lot of care. So I can see this driving, I wouldn't say more underground, but driving companies to be a little bit more savvy about how they put themselves forward.
Yeah, I could see that. I'll be interesting to see where this goes. Will it shut things down? I don't think so. Will we see an effect? I absolutely do believe that we will see changes. And hey, some of those changes could be, gosh, I hope we don't get swept up in this. We've mentioned Reddit how many times? You know, if you were to use AI to search social media for any channels that have repeatedly mentioned Reddit, hey, we're going to be right in there with that dragnet. So, you know, and we've seen it more often than not. I look at your social media, dude, like you're not promoting anything other than education, yet you get hammered on Facebook and on Instagram. You know, you're under the watchful eye just because of the quality of content you're putting out, the brand of content you're putting out.
Yeah.
I saw Paul Barnett just lost his Facebook, unfortunately. He was like, hey, 20 years now down the drain. And I'm sure it was one of those similar things. What's that?
It's quite weird because I'll get the social media platform, be it Facebook, Instagram, whatever it is, giving me shit about the content of certain posts, and then me having to argue with them. And then at the same breath, I'm getting companies like Sony and this brand and that brand emailing me asking for coalitions and collaborations to promote products. And it's like, I got a minute.
Yeah, also, too, I'm seeing research companies advertising through these same platforms. If you go to social media, dude, they are literally advertising the products. They're getting paid to like these social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook.
Yeah, I've seen GLP ads on Facebook and Instagram loads of times. As in the sponsored ads that get put into the videos you're watching. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, man. You know, will it change? Yeah. Will it go away? No. I think there's a lot of things we could dissect with that. Like, okay, sure, it's not available through Lilly, but once it is, how many of the people that are using it are going to be willing to pay what Lilly's going to charge for this now that we know what the actual costs are to make it?
Yeah.
You know, that's something too. But hey, listen, guys, you let us know if you hear anything else about this. And if you want to ask us questions, we're here to.
Yeah, chances are nothing's going to come of that. This seemed interesting.
The last 5 places that you ate at, there's a good chance almost all of them are owned by private equity. But hold up, how? The place still looks the same, even at different locations, and it's not like you're just eating at fast food restaurants, right? Well, the thing is, it's not just places like Subway or Arby now. Even those new, smaller, independent-looking restaurants are now under the same private equity portfolio, so you'd have no idea if the place that you ate at last night is one of them. And it's not slowing down. Private equity has put $94 billion into restaurants over the last decade, but what's weird here is that restaurants should be one of the worst businesses on earth. They have 3% margins, 4 out of 10 made 0 profit last year, and over 8,000 shut down in just the last 6 months. So the more interesting question becomes, why do the smartest guys in finance keep buying them? Well, it's because they're not really buying restaurants. What they're really buying is something attached to them that pays them whether you eat there or not. So you can imagine what this is doing to the industry when the last thing that this depends on is making the food better. So I went through their portfolios, their deals, and even a 20-page guide written by the lawyers who invented this whole thing. And sure, I found the actual reason why eating out feels like an expensive scam now, but then I realized along the way that restaurants are only the start of it. And if nothing changes, we don't just lose the last rare places where somebody still gives a shit. Everywhere is about to look, feel, and get treated like it's built to die. But by the end, I'll show you what you can actually do about all this. So I think a lot of you are feeling how eating out stopped being worth it. Everybody wants to blame inflation for this, and sure, that's definitely a part of it. But once you see this document, you'll see that that's barely part of it. But still, something doesn't make sense. Everybody already knows that restaurants are one of the worst businesses to be in. Sorry, I'm trying to get this on. So then why is private equity buying every single one? And the reason why I'm putting this on is, let's say I run a private equity fund. Now let's call it scratch that, Hungry Stone Capital. Rich people handed me their money, and as always, my job is to turn that into more. Buy something like in healthcare, manufacturing, logistics, make it worth way more, boost up the numbers, and then sell it within 5 to 7 years. But the clock, or should I say my boss yelling at my ass, starts the day the money lands. But you know, I don't want to be like those other private equity guys. Invest in the same boring industries. I want to invest in something fun. That's something I actually like food. But if I didn't want to get yelled at by head boss and not piss away everyone's money, I was gonna have to do a little bit of research. So let's take a look at a random restaurant. Wait, hold on. You're telling me that food gets 28 to 32% of everything it takes in? Staff eats another 25 to 30? And all of this is without considering rent, power, insurance, or equipment? What the hell are these margins? Okay, if I add that up, in a good year, that's like barely anything. And in a bad year, that's like nothing. No wonder that 4 out of 10 restaurant operators made no profit at all last year. You know what? Screw this. Why would I, as Hungry Stone Capital, invest in this? I might as well just buy another hospital or something. But wait. Hold on here. You're telling me that between 2014 and 2024, private equity firms have already put $94.5 billion into bars and restaurants? Okay, that's not something I can ignore. You can say what you want in private equity, but when it comes to making money, none of us can call us dumb on that. And my intuition is right, because after weeks of research, what I found is that the real investment isn't buying restaurants. What you're really after is something other than the restaurant that you walk into. Okay, so Mr. Boston Investors, how Hungry Stone Capital is going to turn this notoriously terrible business into an infinite money glitch is with 3 different tricks. Let's take a Subway restaurant. Yeah. Remember those? I don't know who the f eats at one anymore, but anyways, almost every Subway belonged to a franchisee. Nodding, yep, we already know that, whatever. So the first trick here is we don't really want a store. What we really want is his cash register. Because obviously if we get a cut from his shitty margins, that's not really gonna be worth it. What I want instead is access to 8% of his gross revenue, then another 4.5% for advertising. So 12.5% of money is gone before he's touched bread, meat, rent, power, or a single hour of staff. And so the trick here is to buy and collect the fee instead of the shop. So even if the restaurant has the worst year of his life, we still get paid. So with this first trick, we make his margins his problem, not ours, and suddenly the worst business in the world starts looking pretty good. But that trick isn't enough. We're Hungry Stone Capital here, and we want great investment opportunities, which leads me to my second trick. And what's this, you ask? Well, Subway was already bought in 2023 by another private equity firm, Rourke Capital. They beat us to it. But what Rourke did to make the deal happen is they saw all this money coming in from 18,000 sandwich shops every week. So they went to their investors and said, lend us billions now, $5.7 billion to be exact, and we'll pay you back out of it every quarter for the next 30 years. So they didn't just collect the restaurant fees like in the first trick, but they turned every future sandwich into a payment they could sell to investors today like a bond. And I was like, God damn it, how did I not think of this genius plan? But come to find out, this is actually a whole ass playbook that's already been established to squeeze as much money out of restaurants you invest in. This is a how-to guide from the same legendary lawyers who set this up the first time back in 2006 when 3 private equity firms bought Dunkin' Donuts and immediately borrowed against every coffee that it would ever sell. A couple of things stood out. First, they explained what to look for, and it says right here that franchisee businesses are particularly well suited because royalties calculated as a fixed percentage of franchisee gross sales. Okay, you know what? That. What it's straight up saying is we like restaurant fees because the guy running the store can be losing money and it doesn't touch our payment. So we already covered that in the first trick, but the rest of the 20 pages is just how to protect that payment. Like putting the restaurant into a separate company that only exists to hold them. So if the whole company goes bankrupt, the investors still get paid first, plus a load of other stuff that we don't really have time to get into. But by doing this, we get to borrow against the restaurant chain's future sales while we keep the cash and the restaurant chain keeps the debt. So now think about that, how that changes the restaurant. Now with the already thin margin on top of all the money that's gonna now start going to us, the investors, things like more staff, fixing the fryer that's been broken since March, or like, you know, improving the food or whatever, never is gonna come back up once. So now, not only will the fees be coming in every single week with this second trick for us, we can sell that fee to investors for billions up front. So not that bad for the shittiest business to be in. Except guys, before you leave, there is one last thing I haven't even told you about, and it's what turns us into the best business to be in. The third trick is to sell the building itself in the ground that it stands on, because the real money in a restaurant is not the restaurant, it's the property underneath it, which is exactly what Golden Gate Capital did when they bought Red Lobster for $2.1 billion in 2014. They almost immediately sold the property under roughly 500 stores for $1.5 billion. Then they made Red Lobster pay rent on the buildings that it used to own, often above market rate, and 10 years later, the chain was handing over more than $190 million a year just to sit in its own restaurants. And surprise, surprise, in May 2024, Red Lobster filed for bankruptcy. But wait, before you get scared, by then, remember, that's not our problem, because by then, we've already made all the money. So it seems like I was joking, but the thing is, none of that was even really that much of a bit.
Suck now.
Yes, Hungry Stone Capital is fake as shit, and reality is restaurants are still a terrible business. But what you just saw is that private equity with 3 tricks have been able to turn it into one of the best to invest in. But what this is currently doing to the restaurant industry is a different story, because when incentives dictate behavior, it's pretty obvious now why the focus won't be on dumb stuff like, you know, making the food better, but instead the focus becomes what's the most we can charge where people won't leave. And so when the wrong incentives can produce these wrong results, what's also important is having the tools that helps you point the right way. And that's exactly where today's sponsor, Zapier, comes in. Zapier is a workflow automation. So let's start with Rourke, since we just talked about it and how they own Subway. And it makes sense that they're one of the biggest and the OGs in the space because they really do have a monopoly from morning to dinner. Like, look here along with me. Just morning alone, their lineup is crazy, from Dunkin' Coffee, Auntie Anne's, and Cinnabon at the mall, which, by the way, if you're eating a Cinnabon for breakfast, you you already know what I would call you. But once you wipe that cream off your face and we go to lunch, they even have Subway, Jimmy John's. And finally with dinner, they have everything from Arby's, Sonic, Carl's Jr., Hardee's, Culver's, and Buffalo Wild Wings. Oh, and even dessert and snacks like Baskin Robbins, Carvel, and Jamba. So all these brands roughly have 109,000 locations across 121 countries, and they're managing about $41 billion in its portfolio. But remember, private equity investment in restaurants have been a thing since the 80s, so they're also not the only one. Our favorite private equity firm, Blackstone, bought Jersey Mike's in January 2025 at a valuation around $8 billion after buying Tropical Smoothie Cafe for about $2 billion a year before. Try Artisan held big stakes in
lobsters are likely sentient.
TGI Fridays and Hooters, and even though both eventually went bankrupt, earlier this year, they
Bro, today I was dealing with a Karen with work, told her to check her attitude and became oddly conformational with minimal inhibition. Side effect to nandrolone, or am I just being a bitch? Thanks.
Nandrolone can make you more agitated, so it could be. Thanks, CT. Kid Boo.
Get the fuck up before I get somebody to whoop your ass for real. Like, I'm not even.
Get him!
It will. The fuck? Bye, bitch.
Could not fucking care less. Instagram got these hoes acting like it is probably gonna just be more bullshit. I don't fucking care. Too many skinny pigs. Get her munching. Get her munching good. Get her munching real good. That's good. Thanks, Kid Boo.
just bought Denny's. And Long Range Capital just bought Pizza Hut for $1.5 billion. But the point is, this is just the surface. Let's be real for a second. Does any of that actually change anything for you? Because if the food is still good and the price is still fair, then who cares who owns it? And this is where we have to go back to Subway, because they once had the most famous price in fast food, right? The $5 footlong. And call me a bot, but I love that. It was the reason that little fat ass Gen in the 2010s was eating Subway every single week. But I actually just went to Subway recently, and that same sandwich now is $12.98 with tax plus a tip prompt on the screen.
Insane.
And this is happening everywhere. Now again, the normal explanation is inflation. Everything is getting more expensive, so the chains are passing it down to us like every other industry is really doing. And that's not wrong, except it also doesn't really make sense when you follow where the money ended up. Because Subway is dying.
Animal Liberation, just testing this content. You might find it boring.
At the time we're sleeping together, I felt betrayed. My ex-husband gave me.
What's going on, everybody? Vince Goodrum here. Just wanted to make a video about my cousin Vegan Gains. I'm gay, by the way. Enjoy.
Take a look at that in a minute. Thanks,
HIV. I was lost.
Don't fucking care. Thanks, dude.
What's going on, everybody? Vince Goodrum here. It is Monday evening, and the reason for the video is, once again, people have been asking me whether Vegan Gains has taken it a little bit too far. It seems to be a question I keep getting asked every couple months as far as to whether my cousin has taken it too far. So I'm going to make this really quick because I got a lot of other things to do. So here's the thing, and I'm just going to explain this to you. ever since my cousin dropped that fat house monster, Jasmine, he's been working very hard to improve himself. So when you go and ask him why he's taking all this stuff there, it's to improve his well-being. Now, me, the great one, seeing as how I am on TRT, I can't really say anything bad about someone taking steroids when I'm taking steroids myself, although mine are medically prescribed there, there's a huge difference because I'm old, and stuff. And my testosterone levels don't work like they used to. But in any event, I am aware that he's added on a couple of extra products there. A little bit of extra spices to that recipe, It looks like the Colonel's recipe now has more than 7 or 8 spices, probably about 15. My only concern is that he's probably taking stuff that overlaps, something else that he's actually taking. So he needs to just get organized as far as to what he's taking. If he has a product that's overlapping, then he needs to just drop it. It's really not necessary as far as that's concerned. Also, his legs are actually coming up, but they still need some work there, But I think he already knows that. But, ultimately, he's doing fine. Even if he wasn't juicing or anything like that, he did get rid of that giant house sumo wrestler, Jasmine, and once that, Constructicon actually rolled out of the building and out of my cousin's life, it was automatically better, and stuff. He has more money. And he does seem a lot more happier, and he has a lot less stress, and that's all that really matters. I can give 2 warm, wet schwanks as far as to what he's jabbing in his body, whether it's his arms or his asshole or something like that. I don't really care, okay? If you want me to give a progress update, he's doing fine, okay? He's doing perfectly fine, all right? He's no longer married to that home hippopotamus, Jasmine there, basically, So he's doing perfectly fine. I mean, I can't stress that again, He's got literally the weight off of his shoulders here. And when I mean weight, I mean super heavy weight. We're talking a butterbean weight, basically, and stuff. That I'm a very polite person. But, his life just simply got better. That's all I got to say about that.
Okay, that's good. Jeez, why is that so loud?
They've gone from more than 27,000 American stores down to 18,773, and they're losing 600 to 700 more every year. Remember, Roark, private equity, makes his money off a cut of gross revenue. So you would think that fewer stores would mean fewer profits, right? But no, its profits went from $15 million in 2023 to $397 million in 2024 to $688 million last year. So what this means is that they're now making 45 times more money while the company itself is falling apart around them. So naturally, where is this all coming from? And it was something I couldn't figure out after extensive research until I found this. All credit to Restaurant Business who went digging through the filings going back to 2015, and there are 3 answers and all of them takes up a bigger share of this overall pie. The first is they cut costs, which you already know private equity does very aggressively. The second is that Subway used to pay regional agents a slice of that royalty money to go out and sell more stores. But Roark ended up pulling that in-house, so now they're driving a lot of revenue through that. And the third and most important is the shopping, because franchisees can't buy their own bread and meat wherever he wants. But instead, they have to buy from suppliers that Rourke approves and picks. And turns out those suppliers pay Rourke for that exact privilege. So the more that franchisee spends on ingredients, the more Rourke makes, on top of the 8% already gone off his revenue. So when you now look at the bigger picture, yes, royalty income may have fell 10% because these stores have closed, but total revenue only dropped 4.8 because the shopping has filled a big part of that gap. And it's exactly how last year they came out to $688 million of profit on $925 million of revenue, roughly 74 cents of every dollar, which is pretty crazy. But I'm gonna keep being real with you because look, I love food. Call me a slob, but my general rule is that as long as the food is still good, I'll happily pay more. So is it?
So
well,
it
that depends on a
sucks.
few things. Because remember, every time the franchisee buys supplies, Rourke takes a slice now. So if that's the case, he wants to spend as little as possible, and Rourke wants him spending as much as possible. And if only one of them gets to pick the supplier, so to answer if and why the prices are going up, the question is, who is that supplier? We did a whole video on this earlier this year, but there's a company called Cisco that handles roughly 17% of everything eaten in an American restaurant. They even have an entire division built just to supply chain restaurants with not just ingredients, but finished food, and both Arby's and Subway are their customers. Now you might see the connection. Both of those are Rourke. And now the picture becomes clear. The franchisee saves on staff because now reheating some pre-packaged bag takes a lot fewer hands than cooking. That's why you probably notice there's way less staff at these restaurants now. Rourke cares about its slice of the supplies and sales, and the investors who lent that $5.7 billion back in 2023 get exactly the predictable payment that they were promised. So everybody involved in that party is happy because they're now making more money and getting steady cash flow. But to answer what we started with, if the food is still good, if the price is still fair, again, let's just say that nobody in this entire chain gets paid more if the food or price is any good. So the reality is private equity never really had to tell anyone explicitly to make the sandwich worse. They just reworked the incentives to make it so the franchisees couldn't afford to make it good or only had the options to buy pre-cooked slop. And you can see it exactly in the numbers. Chain restaurant sales grew 3% last year, while menu prices went up 3.8%. So the money is being made not by selling more food, but by selling less for more money. So by now the answer seems obvious. Again, or the other people watching, if you care so damn much, just stop eating at these places. I mean, honestly, valid. If it was that easy, I could just end the video here, but the more I looked into it, the more I started seeing how this isn't just
eating out is so horseshit, dude. Like, eating out one time is like fucking half a week's worth of groceries at least. It's just crazy. So fucking expensive. It's usually shit, too. Most places just serve fucking slop.
Just about restaurants getting worse. It might be hard to put it into words, but I know you definitely feel it. But what's clear now is that if nothing changes, that feeling is coming for places that matter a lot more than your next lunch. But so you can understand what I mean, let's actually walk through the options that you have right now, where you can still go. Because there's two main options. The first option is to skip the big chains and the drive-thru, right? Go somewhere newer, somewhere smaller, somewhere that actually looks like some mom and pop owns it. Okay, perfect. Somewhere like Dave's Hot Chicken that started in 2017 with 4 friends at a parking lot in East Hollywood. Oh, well, yeah, Rourke bought a majority stake in June 2025 for about $1 billion. But what this reveals here is like a deeper reason why they're doing this. Look at how Rourke describes this restaurant on their own website. It says street style artwork, urban industrial finishes, and neon signage. That's like the formula for like the most millennial portfolio of restaurants. But that's exactly the point. They know that aesthetic will probably be like the last thing that people would assume to be private equity owned. Or at least I do. But to be fair, since it does seem like I'm just being overly critical, it doesn't always end badly. Rourke did buy McAllister's Deli back in 2005, and it's not like I went to it before private equity, but since then they have grown at a 530% and now worth $1 billion. So you can see why even these more independent restaurants are even deciding to go with private equity, because clearly there are some results that they're driving with it. But I guess what is scary is that what seems like that cool, hip, independent place with the good branding is now also owned by private equity too. So now this leads me to like the other option you have, which is forget anything that's remotely a chain and just go to like that small mom and pop with like the sticky menus and the kid is either on his iPad or just doing homework at one of the tables. You know the food is about to be good. And yes, that's exactly still the solution, but there's also a problem with this because private equity doesn't just impact the restaurants that they buy, but the whole entire industry. Because independent restaurants like this still have to buy their food from everywhere. And for decades, most of them have been going to this supplier called Restaurant Depot. They have like 166 warehouses across 35 states serving more than 725,000 independent operators. And they were pretty important because they were one of the biggest reasons your local spot was able to compete with these big chains on price. But then on 30th of March, not private equity, but Cisco agreed to buy it for $29.1 billion. And I think you can read between the lines, but as we covered, Cisco does have these relationships.
I love you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, 13.
Private equity backed restaurants. So I'm not going to get too deep into it, but the mom and pop is still the answer. But the point is, time may be running out on how long these sorts of restaurants can even survive. And as I was piecing all this together, that's when it kind of started making sense. This feeling that I've been feeling and others have been feeling before making this video, and why it's became a lot more clear. Because when I went back to Rourke's website to double check something, what I started seeing is how none of this is just about restaurants. From your gyms like Anytime Fitness or Orange Theory, or your massage to your oil change and your body shop, to the people who clean your house or help you move into it, and now even your kids' preschools. And that's when I realized that this feeling is a feeling we feel because almost everything is slowly turning into the same thing. And just to confirm, I'm not the only one, I went to the one website that could, Reddit. Someone posted a thread this month asking why every one of these places feels the same. From its cleanliness, modern vibe, and this feeling that it's completely dead inside. Soulless, and almost 1,000 other people agreed. The original poster said that he walked into a restaurant, felt this thing that was off before he even ordered, and as he sat down and waited, Googled the owner on his phone right here at the table and found private equity. Now the boring answer is why your corporate office to even your restaurants are now looking the same is because building one design 1,000 times is a lot more scalable and cheaper. But the best way to describe why we feel this way is because these rooms just feel like it's built to die. And again, this isn't like hard research like we always do. So you guys can tell me in the comments, but I feel like it wasn't always like that. Because think about like the hometown that you grew up in. There's like a Pizza Hut, maybe ended up closing, then became a law office, and then maybe even something else, but it still kind of looked like Pizza Hut for the next 20 years. But now there isn't really much of like this internal identity anymore. Everything from even the logos themselves to the menu feels like a gray box. It's completely devoid of personality, and I think it's because why invest in personality? Because if the plan all along is to hold something for 5 to 7 years and then sell the land out from it under it anyways. It's sad to say, but it's like personality and soul is a line item that doesn't really make financial sense anymore. So this all leads to what's actually left. Well, at least for now, I don't just have like this ready-made list that tells you which restaurants are family owned or bought out by private equity, but damn, maybe y'all can let me in the comments if you would like for us to build out that app. But if we're gonna be real, even if that
Who has the better ass, the Belgian or
existed tomorrow, I don't think it would fix anything. But
Yeah,
what will,
for cluster
at the end of
headaches.
the day, is your choice. Every trick that I discussed in this video, from the fees, the loans, the land, all of it pays out if
Yeah, so private equity is just destroying everything. You know.
Is that not the Matrix? That's fucking ever heard.
I like the color. You like the color? Yeah, I had mixed reviews on the color. Some people said they like it, some people said they don't like it, and I said, well, what color is your Bugatti? Oh, f off then.
Bugatti. My Bugatti, what color is your Bugatti? It's not the color of my Bugatti. Hey, did you know that he's really obsessed with talking about his cars? If you want to call them his cars.
It's supposed to be quick. They say good things about it, and then I kind of wanted to test it. So I thought, let me rent one. But if you rent a car, then you're getting in a car another man has already been in. Feels gay. So I bought one.
It's got 9 kilometers on the clock.
Exactly, it's brand new. So,
Yeah, I know.
it's bought a
Who
brand
the
new
fuck
one,
gets
and
a
then I'll take it out for a
Maserati?
drive today. If I don't like it, it can just sit there.
It does look nice.
It's ornament. It's like garden furniture. If I don't like it, I'll just never drive it again. Who cares? What is it, $500,000? Who gives?
Oh, I don't.
It's free.
It is basically free.
So we're gonna find out.
It's only worth about 10 cigarette lighters.
getting rented cars is gay because men get in them.
Renting Bugattis is gay because another man has been in them before. This is the type of things that he says to his incels that buy all this, literally, and do all this constantly. But I'm not sure if you guys saw that quick little blurb at the beginning there when he was talking about his Bugattis, because people are exposing him. Because as we know, the Tates are in jail right now and they're fighting extradition charges to go back to the UK to face all of those disgusting charges of sexual assault, rape. But what's weird is they're trying to make sure that people don't think that they own these things, maybe because they don't own these things in those court filings. For example, $2.1 million Aston Martin and the $5 and $7 million Bugattis featured in his videos were rented. He can't rent cars. That'd be gay. You're sitting in a seat that another man was farting in. What's the matter with you? And you know, if there was once a fart in a seat, you suddenly turn gay. I feel like he's really trying to avoid some gay allegations for some reason that nobody even brought up until he started talking about gay. It's not just Bugattis. It's apparently also super yachts.
But I just want to let you all know that this will be the most appreciated boat on the planet. My brother and I came from absolutely nothing. We don't have rich families or rich beginnings. We started with absolutely nothing. We made all our money the hard way. And we're going to be very appreciative and very happy when we get this boat. This is a big thing for us. So every single little detail, every piece of work you put into it is going to be greatly appreciated and noticed. If you want to put any defects, you can put them all in Marcel's bedroom. You can put holes and mistakes in his room is no problem, but everywhere else, we really appreciate all of your hard work, and we cannot wait to see the final product. Thank you very much. Thank you.
They've got super yachts. They do promotional videos showing they're having them built specifically for themselves. Did you know? Did you know this other piece of information? In these court filings, as their scary asses are trying not to get extradited back to the UK, here's more details. A promotional video.
How annoying am I on a scale of 1 to 10?
Was it unwise of Miss Rachel to be so outspoken?
The days of Zionist bullying.
Not watching this because of the music. Don't care. Well, that's a nice pig enjoying a pineapple. My pigs like pineapples. Nice yummy pineapple for the pig. Oink oink. It's a good oinker. It's a nice pig. I don't like pineapple, but I'm glad the pig's enjoying it. Thanks, Kid Boo.
Filmed aboard a yacht is not evidence of title to the yacht, this says. As set forth in the motion, the super yacht does not belong to the Tates. They received payment to promote the ship on social media. So I guess when being extradited is breathing down your back, suddenly there's a lot of truths that get told in court, specifically about, no, we don't have all this. We actually don't have all this. No, please. All this stuff we're doing, it was all fake, bro. It was all fake. Everything we were doing was just for promotional purposes. As a matter of fact, they paid us. It was a commercial for them. We don't own this stuff. We just talk about how if we didn't own this stuff, we would be gay. So I guess because of these court filings that show they rented their cars, and he also said if you rent cars, you're a gay man because another man was inside of it once. Is that an admission? I feel like all of these incels that hang out outside of his prison cell as he's in there complaining about the food, they probably don't want to hear these revelations, but they probably won't hear them because they were too busy doing push-ups in honor of their savior.
Like, is that not the Matrix? Fucking ever heard of.
It's so fucking cringe being a Tate fan.
Let's go. I tell you what, the women just started falling all over themselves over these incels, doing push-ups in a collective group so that Andrew Tate, maybe in isolation, can get a peek outside. It's like, oh, there's my guys. They must be renting cars.
Yeah, that's gay.
This is embarrassing. Listen, this is public embarrassment. Why would you do this to yourself? He didn't see it. And even if he did, he would laugh at you like the rest of the world is. Why are you doing this? I saw a couple guys in red MAGA hats. I saw a black man out there. There are some people that are defending this whole idea. I did a video in talking about a very odd analogy.
I want to run you through this hypothetical real quick. Imagine this. There's a house, and in that house, people come and go. And inside of that house, there's a device, and nobody really knows who it belongs to, but people use it all the time. It's kind of like the house phone, the house computer, the house device. And we're talking about a long time ago, over a decade ago. This is during the time that ISIS is just killing people all over the place. And there's a lot of horrible things that are happening in the Middle East. A lot of us who were around then saw the video of the New York Times journalist who was decapitated. It was horrible. We saw gays being thrown off of buildings. We saw people being lit on fire. Massacres. It was terrible. It was disgusting. In that house, on that device, there's a group chat. And people are sending images. Women and children getting massacred. People lit on fire. People being chucked off of buildings. There's even a video of Western forces going around the back of a building. And when they get around the back of the building, they see a guy banging a goat. And like, this guy's banging a goat, what's going on? And pow, pow, they smoke him. They smoke him.
Wait a second. He seems to be responding to these 19 charges of, I want to make sure I say it right, relating to indecent images of a child, or maybe other children, who knows? And his analogy starts with him saying, you're part of a group chat or a group of folks that are passing on violent videos of things happening in a country to make sure that we know about what it is that's happening. You know, maybe similar to things like what was going on and still going on in Middle East countries where we in Israel are bombing and killing folks so that there's, you know, awareness around it. And he says, imagine if those disgusting images of people being massacred are on whatever device you've been looking at it on, and now you've been busted for it. And it's totally unfair, he says. Does that make any sense? You know what?
Yeah, that's really weird.
He has a whole back end of this weird analogy to try and convince you that this has anything to do with these accusations about child pornography.
There's no evidence that you've ever solicited any of these images or any of these videos. There's no read receipts. No one knows if you've even watched them. And nobody can absolutely say for sure if this phone was even...
Richard, how much would it cost for me to slap you in the face with my Richard? AKA cock.
It'd cost you your life. Thanks, Samuel.
Even yours. But because you're on a group chat with dozens of, or maybe 100 guys on it, and because people are sending these kinds of images, and because some of these images involve a goat and involve massacred women and children, you've been associated.
So this guy's admitting Tate was part of a group chat where they were sharing child sexual abuse material. That doesn't make Tate sound good. It's fucking these people are actually retarded.
Stock market seems to be going from bad to worse, but our market would be tanking too if literally our Walmart was going up in smoke. But that seems to be the direction things are headed for the Russians. And frankly, the Russians, well, they're not taking it lying down. They're actually doing exactly what you would expect from Vladimir Putin. But is it actually going to work? Well, let's see. So the latest strikes in Russia have targeted Ozon. And Ozon is interesting because Ozon is a direct competitor with Wildberries. It is the second largest e-commerce retailer in all of Russia. And this is roughly the equivalent of their Walmart. And these Ozon hubs explicitly are now being targeted by Ukrainian long-range drone strikes. Now, 3 teenagers were killed in the Krasnodar region, according to Russian officials, as the country's second largest retailer, Ozon, reported that 4 of its logistics centers across southern Russia were targeted in overnight attacks, right? The reportedly, drone debris fell into, quote, a private children's center. Though we've seen this before where Russia will kind of, without really giving any evidence, claim that random buildings were full of kids, but then you'll never learn about who the kids are or what happened. And, drone debris falling onto a private children's center, I'm pretty skeptical. But in Ozon, a large fire broke out at one of its logistics hubs in Krasnodar as a result of a drone attack, as well as in a facility in Dagestan. And of course, the workers were evacuated from the warehouses in several regions. And Ozon shares, though, fell by as much as 30% on the Moscow exchange following news of the attacks, while shares in its shareholder, the private equity firm AFK Sistema, fell by 13%. Now, this actually led to a huge drawdown in the Russian market overall. Guys, this is the 5-day chart right here. And as you can see, the Russian markets were trying to stage a little bit of a comeback, right? Some gas stations were even starting to have gas again. But as you can see, about 4 days ago, things just started looking bad again. But then you can see here that right around...
This girl claims natty, surely she eats VAR like it's candy.
Yeah, probably not natty. Like, let me see. It's just unusual for women to be that lean. It's possible that she just does a lot of peptides. Like Retta, SLU. Could also be taking some growth hormone or growth secretagogue, stuff like that. But yeah, there's a good chance she fucks around with some Anavar. It's kind of the go-to. Nandrolone phenylpropionate is also really popular for women. Thanks, Gold Injector.
Early, or right around last night, the market lost almost 5% of its value in literally like a second. And that seems to be because of these wildberry strikes causing a repricing. I think maybe the Russian market really thought that the target against targeting of wildberries logistics facilities was a one-time thing, and that it had kind of wrapped up and the Russians had gotten a handle on it. But in fact, the Ukrainians were just kind of moving to new targets. And you can see now that we're looking at a Russian stock market trading around just 2,070 rubles, with a daily change of 3%, down 3% on the day, down almost 10% for the month, and down nearly 30% for the year. And you can see on the 5-year chart here, you can see essentially that the Russian economy has lost more than 50% of its ruble-denominated value. But when you account for inflation, it actually somehow impossibly looks even worse. And this is a reflection of the reality of the Russian economy right now. The average Russian, the Russian economy has essentially been juiced by deficit government spending, where the Russian government has spent a lot of money on paying soldiers exorbitant contract bonuses, spent a lot awarding defense contracts to companies. But in fact, you cannot actually just have a government spend money and have that translate into a thriving economy. It just doesn't work that way unless there is something on the other end. And right now, Putin has been doing it on a credit card, right? It's basically like your neighbor who appears rich because he's able to get loans to buy a BMW. He takes out a huge mortgage at a high interest rate, and of course uses the credit card to buy his wife a bunch of Prada handbags, right? He does all the things that rich people do. He has all the metrics, right? A rich person has a BMW and a Prada handbag and a big house. There's just one thing, is that in an actual thriving economy, just like an actual rich person, those things are symptoms. They are the paint on the surface that betrays that they actually are rich, right? Just like in the United States, right? Actually, U.S., bad example. We are also heavily in debt. But the Russian economy has been relying on government swiping the credit card at very high interest rates in order to sustain this economic output, and it can't last forever. We're starting to see now that economic output is diminishing. And in fact, the economy is looking increasingly rough, right? So it's not actually Ukrainian strikes that are doing this. Ukrainian strikes aren't helping. But the reality is what's doing it is the fact that the government can't afford to make its interest payments and continue its obligations. It can't continue to subsidize fuel. It can't continue to take out debt to pay soldiers and fund drone factories. And it certainly doesn't have the money to make pension payments. And so we're seeing that Vladimir Putin is increasingly relying on, well, cope and bizarre and just seething, right? He's got cope and he has seethe as his two tools in this toolkit. And right now he's seething, saying that Ukraine has opened a Pandora's box with strikes on what he calls economic targets. Now, Russia would hit back at Ukraine's, quote, most sensitive economic sectors. Now, this is significant because for months, Ukraine has been targeting Russian oil refineries as well as online retailers' warehouses. So why Putin, after 8 months of having its refineries hit, suddenly, abruptly, he's going to go, actually, man, you guys really did target our most sensitive economic sectors. And Russia has, of course, been responding this entire time. They've been targeting Ukrainian infrastructure and ports in the Black Sea, particularly in Odessa. But also, they've been targeting facilities of purely civilian value that are barely even economically relevant. That includes things like the thermal power stations that provide
Don't
heat
give a fuck about
to
vegetables, please.
to entire cities, right? So, blowing up Kyiv power stations in the winter is a core Russian strategy and has been, by the way, for years. So that to me is an indicator of that this is all Putin has left, is just seething and saying, we're going to get you Ukrainians. But it's like, dude, if you were going to do it, if you're going to hit us with everything you got, why didn't you do it when you were already bombing the grain ports in Odessa? Why didn't you do it when you blew up every thermal power station in the country? Like, you already had a chance to do it. But what we're seeing is instead sensitive economic centers seems like code for purely civilian targets, right? And just 2 days ago, the Russian military hit a shopping mall in Kyiv, a Ukrainian city, using what's called a double tap strike. And a double tap strike is disturbing because it is where you launch an initial strike at a facility. This was common by insurgents in Iraq and Afghanistan, where you'll hit a target, say a convoy, in this case, a shopping center, and then you will wait 15, 30 minutes, an hour, and you're waiting for emergency responders to arrive. You're waiting for reinforcements to come on scene. And then once it is a flurry of activity, as people try to evacuate the dead and wounded, you launch a second follow-up strike expressly to target emergency workers. Now, obviously, if your goal was to burn down the shopping center, there's no need for a double tap strike, right? The only reason a double tap makes sense is if your goal is to target emergency workers and maximize civilian casualties. There's not really any other.
Mom, maybe not so. You weren't homicidal on SSRI. Ignore risk, variability, improve argument, read something. I don't know what the fuck that is. I'm not reading it. Thanks, dude.
Let's not forget that Biden reduced deficit spending by $900 billion while Trump increased it by $1.4 trillion. Yes, there was still a deficit under Biden, but it was lowered by $900 billion than the previous deficit under Trump.
Yes, Trump did do that, even though he said he'd get rid of the deficit very quickly. That was obviously a lie. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. When does Gears come out? 6 October, not much longer.
reason here. And again, this is something that we would expect from, say, the Taliban, that didn't really care about whether or not somebody was a medic, whether or not these people were civilians. They were all kind of in on it, right? And in a different world, Russia would be condemned for this behavior, but it's just not. But I think that's a sign of this is kind of what Russia's resorting to. You don't do these things because you are winning the war. These aren't the actions that you take of somebody who has a symmetric advantage, as Putin claims to have. Again, the reason the Taliban did these things to the Americans.
And then you have Jason Blaha, who said a president who can't reduce the deficit should be tried for treason while he supports Trump. How ironic is that anyway?
Blaha is an idiot. Like, people who say you need a balanced budget are just completely fucking retarded. You need some amount of debt to drive economic growth. If the U.S. would never go into debt, it would be a much more poor nation. So you need some amount of debt. Right now, it's probably too high. But debt isn't necessarily a bad thing. Running a country is not the same thing as running your own personal bank account. Thanks, though, Dodo.
Military in Afghanistan was because they were the Taliban. They couldn't actually win the stand-up fight against the United States. They had to rely on every kind of advantage that they could possibly extract. That included, again, double tapping, targeting civilians, punishing, inflicting some vicious punishment.
The bigger strategic blunder Trump made than Iran is not even the Iran war, but it's the tax cuts and massively increased spending under his administration, ballooning the debt like no president in history. You will realize how bad it is eventually. VG.
Nobody knows exactly how high the U.S. debt can even get until it becomes a crisis. Yeah, hopefully the next administration does have some cost-cutting and austerity measures. Because, yeah, it probably is getting to a point where it's going to be a problem otherwise. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo.
On civilian populations. And that's basically what Russia is resorting to. They're like, this is the only tool available in our toolkit. If you're subscribed, check and make sure you still are, because YouTube has been unsubscribing people.
Yeah, Russia's down bad.
Getting into Myanmar as a journalist these days is extremely challenging. The exception is around big events. Symbolism intended to communicate that I've been covering geopolitics, crime, and corruption for over 15 years. The civil war in Myanmar is one of the biggest stories in Asia, but it's been nearly forgotten by the world. The conflict is savage. There are well-documented examples of the junta directly attacking civilians. Around 100,000 people have been...
My fear is that a so-called progressive will be elected in 2028 as president, and then they will want to increase social spending and without being able to increase taxes, and it will make the debt problem even worse or simply unaddressed.
I'm not exactly sure how things will go. It's kind of a weird time. Like, in terms of the midterms, yeah, Republicans probably aren't going to be that great. Federal election, it's probably going to be a different story. I don't think the Democrats are going to have a viable candidate, but we'll see. Thanks, Dodo.
Killed, hundreds of thousands more injured, and millions displaced. We're heading to Sagaing. We've been told that the area we're going to is reasonably safe, but very tense. We're hoping to speak to internally displaced people who are living on the grounds of monasteries.
စစ်ကြောင်းကြီးဝင်လို့ရွာမှာစစ်တပ်ချလို့ဆိုပြီးတော့အမတို့နေပြီးတော့အပီးကိုပြေးခဲ့ရတယ်ဟမ်ပတ်စံကိုမပါခဲ့တာအကုန်လုံးပေါင်းမှာ9000လောက်ပဲပါခဲ့တယ်ပြေးလာချင်းလမ်းမှာလူအုပ်တရာအများကြီးပဲဟိုညနေခင်းကိုလေနွားစင်းချိန်များလွှတ်လိုက်လို့အဲ့လိုပုံစံမျိုးပဲ
We're already seeing sell-offs in treasury bonds because investors are getting spooked that the US debt is so high they may eventually default on it, so it's becoming an issue and will be an issue if not addressed, and we should not wait until it's an issue.
I agree with that. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
ပြေးပြေးလွှားလွှားဖြစ်နေတဲ့အချိန်မှာဆိုင်ကယ်နဲ့ဝင်ပြီးချိတ်တာသူများဆိုင်ကယ်ဟောဘိုက်ချုပ်ကြီးပေါ်ကနေပြီးတက်ပြီးတော့နင်းသွားတာ
Zinmar Y traveled with her 2 daughters for months and finally found refuge in the monastery. Then things got even worse.
There's been a big earthquake in Myanmar. 7.7 is the magnitude of it.
Rescuers in Myanmar are working frantically to...
Sup, nigga? How are you doing tonight?
I'm fine, thanks. What's with all the fucking earthquakes lately? I swear there's been an earthquake like fucking everywhere.
Find survivors 3 days after the country's biggest earthquake in a century.
The military government now saying that around 1,700 people were killed in Friday's massive quake.
I mean, cost-cutting is very hard to do, but raising taxes is less politically hard to do, so they will likely push for new taxes and maintain or increase social spending, possibly reduced military budget, but I don't know. I think some of that is necessary.
There's no way anybody's going to be able to touch the military budget. It can only go up. Yeah, and like the thing is, most of the debt is in private equity. So, like, that's one thing people don't get. Yeah, reducing, just not printing money anymore is, you know, really the best strategy.
As I be live, I told you before, we can reduce the nuclear arsenal in half and save $50 billion a year, which is a meaningful amount without deteriorating national security, so cuts like this I be live are necessary. In fact, we can sell the nukes to UK, France or Somme.
That would do absolutely nothing. Again, most of the debt's in private equity. So they just have to stop printing money. Thanks for the donation though, Dodo.
ငလျင်ကြီးဖြစ်တော့ကြတော့ကလေးကငလျင်ဖြစ်ပြီးတော့ပြီးပြီးတော့ဆုံးသွားတယ်။သုံးတဲ့ចောင်းဆောင်ပြီးပြီးဆုံးသွားတယ်ကလေးက4 ရက်မြောက်နေ့မှာဓာတ်ဘော်ဒီပေါ်ပြီးတော့တွေ့တယ်။အဲ့ဒါကလေးကနေပြီးအမားတို့မပြန်ဖြစ်တော့တာဒီမှာပဲနေဖြစ်တော့တာ
Zinmar Y hopes her village can be rebuilt, so her surviving daughter, who's 4 years old, can have a chance to attend school. But like the millions of other people displaced by this conflict, there's little she can do as the war rages on. What sets this war apart, and actually I think one of the reasons it does not get more coverage in the global media, is that it's very complex.
It was at an early hour that Rangoon marked Burma's full assumption of independence. The Burmese national flag was hoisted with all due ceremony.
Myanmar, which was known at the time as Burma, became independent in 1948. What followed, beginning in the 1960s, was a period of repressive military rule. The country was very isolated, it was heavily sanctioned, very poor.
I disagree with you about the Fiji because in the Democratic primary the first states to have elections are more conservative states like South Carolina, which propelled Biden to victory last time around, so I don't necessarily seeing a crazy far leftist elected.
Yeah, well, they don't necessarily have to be far left. They just have to be unlikable enough. But thanks, Dodo.
But then, beginning in 2011, things began to change. notably with Aung San Suu Kyi, the opposition leader, being released from house arrest.
It seems the world has a new democracy.
Her National League for Democracy won the 2015 election in a landslide.
She is genius. She is the great leader.
We haven't really got to a goal yet. This is just the beginning.
Then there was an opening of the economy, which led to a huge boom in the 2010s. But the military staged a coup in 2021. Aung San Suu Kyi was placed under arrest.
That footage of the military coup is fucking insane. There's some fitness blogger chick who is doing some like you know, one of those weird dance workouts. She literally got the first footage of the coup,
sparking massive protests. Hundreds of thousands of people went into the street.
Fat sucking on BW.
And initially the protests were sort of tolerated, but pretty soon the army cracked down to the point of using live ammunition. Many of the protesters fled from cities to the forests. Kids, students, educated people reinvented themselves as guerrillas, forging alliances with long-standing rebel groups to fight the junta. On the one side, you have the junta, the military government and its allies. And on the other, you have 24+ rebel groups. Some have fought the government on and off for decades. These rebel groups also sometimes fight each other. You can't really impose a neat narrative on it. We saw the situation firsthand on the edge of Shan State, along Myanmar's border with Thailand. So this is territory controlled by an organization called the Wa National Army. It's a very complicated landscape. There is a militia associated with the Burmese military that controls one hilltop over here. The WNA controls a different hilltop. Another outfit called the Shan State Army South controls yet another hilltop. And then, of course, on the other side of it, you have the Thai Army trying to keep an eye on everything and trying to protect Thailand's borders.
Well, if the Fed stopped printing money, then there would not be enough money to pay for the budget. So then, yes, those programs would need to be cut, or they simply would not be paid for. It would turn into a very chaotic government shutdown, perhaps worst.
Okay, well, I'm not so sure, Dodo. Thanks. Appreciate the donation.
Despite the presence of the Thai army, the impact of the war has spilled over into towns along the border with Western Thailand, where people have come to seek safety, like Michelle.
My husband do a dog kolware. Zuga sitting and twatata.
Her husband's involvement with the protest movement made her a target, and the military came to find her.
Jeez.
About that, you should get the car gani. Oh, the Raya ni bio. Enough a chance to me in a channel matobio. Pony care. Galeo chibio. Below that is Shilale. My name.
Michelle decided her only hope was to leave the country for Thailand. Hundreds of thousands of others have done the same. Most have no choice but to cross the border illegally, creating a market for people smugglers.
But the town of Macau, Taman so in the Rankuraga, she are away she are. She are away she are clean young boy, the town shit out a little bit. Timal ate the cool handbag, ate the cool bad. Era to pure the tally machine, Luigi Guame to pure. Pong now, what we should lie, a son of what you lie about. At all time, I nearly by Gura. Didn't I go a be at 30 lima? Down the Toya, Dimario, Dinaliga, Dinaga says I go on, sit away at Simpew. We are low out, Jamai Macao, me varia, lampy popire. Mandalego, then Toya Mala. Your link get it. Have me go your linari, a chilla dwell less she boama. Shintan biro, the yet sensi, Chatan biro, needore. What is that?
We're here in Naypyidaw, Myanmar's capital, in what we've been told is the neighborhood where a number of generals, senior officials, government ministers live. Every single house is behind a wall. Every single house is behind razor wire. Just as Naypyidaw itself is essentially behind a wall, closed off from the rest of the country. There is a huge amount of money that is fueling the Civil War, and a lot of that money ends up with people like the ones who live in this neighborhood. When you consider how most people in this country live in a time of unbelievable economic collapse, it is a pretty stark contrast. While we were driving around Naypyidaw and Mandalay, we kept seeing these enormous queues of vehicles. It was the middle of the war in Iran. Myanmar has imposed strict fuel restrictions, which are adding to the effects of the conflict on people's day-to-day lives.
You want me to answer your stupid gear question? Donate. I'm not wasting my time on dumb shit, dude, unless I get paid.
This is Mandalay. There is something of a veneer of normalcy. It's peaceful here. There is commerce. It's the center of all kinds of commodity flows. When you think about the richness of Myanmar's natural resources, all of it flows through here to some degree.
Real shame. It looks like a really nice, pretty country. It's just, you know, there's weird, crazy, horrible, violent dictators and shit. I don't know what makes people so angry and aggressive when they live in, like, a nice, warm place. Like, why don't you just fucking chill and enjoy the weather and go to the beach or something? It's fucking weird.
Myanmar is one of the most resource-rich countries in the world. There are significant reserves of gemstones, of timber, copper, almost anything you can think of. While some rebel groups are fighting for ideological reasons, others are fighting to get their hands on these natural resources. While we were in Mandalay, we met a gemstone trader originally from Mogok, where some of the most valuable rubies in the world have come from. In 2024, a rebel group called the TNLA took control of Mogok, and not surprisingly, it was very interested in rubies. The TNLA is one of a number of ethnic armed groups that existed before the coup. When the TNLA took over the area, it started charging local diggers for the ability to work their plots. If they wanted to survive, miners had to find ways to work around the system. Gemstones are a big industry in Myanmar, but the really significant money is in scam centers. We joined the Thai army on a patrol to check out the scam centers along the Thai-Myanmar border.
M16s, hell yeah.
This is Shui Koko, allegedly one of the largest scam centers anywhere in Southeast Asia. There are signs all over the place warning people who may have answered job ads promising work in customer service that, in fact, what awaits them across the river in Myanmar is far more sinister and far darker. While many of the workers are trafficked and essentially held prisoner, some are volunteers, attracted by the prospect of generous pay. That was the story of this former scammer who asked for his identity to be concealed because he fears for his safety.
This building is the place that I used to work and live. My friend told me that if I go there, room and board are free, and the starting salary is 30,000 baht, about $900. There are bombs being thrown overhead, back and forth all the time. For the first few days, I was scared, but over time, I got used to it. My main work is trade. It's crypto trade. When a customer wants to invest with us, we have to tell them to download an app that is used for foreign currency exchange. In there, the customer has to exchange money for coin. After that, they take the coins to another application set up by scammers. When the customers put the coin in there, it means the coins are already in the scammer's account. It's not just a one-time thing. A person has to get scammed at least 3 times. The first time is not that much, about $100. The second time is about $1,000, but the third time has to be higher, about $10,000.
The political economy of the civil war in Myanmar has a huge amount to do with places like this. They generate, by most accounts, billions, if not tens of billions of dollars in revenue. And that is money that goes straight into the pockets of various combatants in the war.
It's going to the military junta, the money. Due to the sanction, and they're facing many things, the military junta, they doesn't have any more money. So they're doing the scamming business to fight against their own people. They don't care whatever happens to the country and people. Their focus is their own families and relatives and the military.
Myanmar's parliament has elected military chief Min Aung Hlaing as the country's new president.
Opponents say the poll is an attempt by the army to try and win legitimacy on the global stage.
The fake election won't work. They elected themselves. Everyone knows. As long as they have power, they can do their own business. As long as war existing, they can make money.
A Myanmar military airstrike reportedly killed 7 civilians, including a 5-year-old child in the country.
There's basically no prospect of the war ending anytime soon. No one is winning on the battlefield. But with so much money being made, the combatants don't really have a reason to stop fighting. And the sad part is, no matter who's in charge, the rebel groups or the junta, hardly any of this money is actually reaching the people of Myanmar.
ဘာမှမရှိတဲ့ဘဝကိုရောက်သွားပြီလေဘာမှမရှိတဲ့ဘဝရောက်သွားတာဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်နှစ်ဆပြန်ပြီးတော့စူးစမ်းရမယ်ဟိုအရင်တုန်းကလိုပုံစံလေးပြန်ပြီးတော့ဖြစ်ချင်ပါတယ်သူသမီးကိုသူမတွေ့ဘူးခဲ့အော်သူစီက message တစ်ခုရောက်လာခဲ့ဘူးတယ်သူကတော့ဒီ
Myanmar is 90% Buddhist, so why are they so violent? I guess the military ain't, and some of these rebels aren't. But, yeah, it's really weird, man. It seems like a really nice country if you just remove all the people. But, yeah, like, looks like it has nice weather, good resources. The food there in general seems pretty dope, like Asian food's sick. I don't know why they can't just get along and make, rice and noodles and stuff and just chill. Weird. It's kind of like they're just chimpanzees. Thanks, though, Dodo.
ဒေါ်လာရေးကိုပြီးဆုံးတဲ့အထိလောက်မှဖြစ်တဲ့အတွက်တပည့်တို့လည်းကဘာမြေရဲ့တနေရာမှာအသက်ရှင်နေတယ်ရှိနေတာကိုသူသိရတယ်သူပြန်မလာနိုင်ဒါကိုခွင့်လွှတ်ပါဆိုတဲ့စကားတစ်ခုရောက်လာခဲ့တယ်
I messed up, dude.
Ever since Myanmar's
This guy's channel's kind of fucking slop.
About the crash of real estate in the Chinese market, but many people may not know that China is fueling a significant bubble.
That's right. If you look at say GDP component in terms of expenditure component, usually we had consumption, household consumption, investment, government spending, and net export. Usually these are four components contributing to the GDP growth. And China, its investment share as a GDP has been very high, from all kinds of human economic standard. So it has been above 50% for a long time. And that include manufacturing, construction, infrastructure, manufacturing investment. So what happened is in 2022, the real estate bubble burst. You see, of course, real estate investment is declining. Yeah. However, if economy like China's investment is a very big part of it declining, you are going to see the GDP declining as well. But China doesn't want that. They want to have this kind of high growth continue for a long time. So they use all kinds of government resources, policy incentive to encourage this kind of continued expansion in the manufacturing sector. So that's why usually in this kind of so-called aftermath of the bubble burst, you see like a country like Japan, used to be like Asian tigers, in the Asian financial crisis after 97, usually you will see the investment share as GDP going down dramatically and GDP growth going down dramatically. That's very natural situation to repair high debt and over-investment situation. But we haven't seen that in China. So right now, they are making another bubble in this in the aftermath of this real estate bubble.
And what's the impact of that?
The long-term impact will be very, very negative. For example, Japan, it took almost 20 years for Japan to repair their balance sheet, to reduce this debt through low economic growth over the years. 20 years. It took Japan 20 years. And right now they are in this kind of very healthy situation. So what happened in China is, I think there's a very simple way to explain. If you climb too high, when you fall, injury will be deeper. So what happened in China is they have not learned the lesson from their real estate bubble. They are making another bubble. So right now, the Chinese economy, household corporation are still trying to figure out how to get rid of their real estate bubble debt. They call it deleveraging situation. But at the same time, they are making another bubble. So you can imagine that, right? If I would say in a kind of a perfect world, what China should be doing right now is trying to repair their balance sheet, from household, from corporation. And then once it's over, their economy will kind of get back to kind of a healthy, balanced growth again. But right now, they are not doing that. So what will happen is it will take this very unbalanced economic structure continue to last longer than it should be. It's very bad. Right now, if you look at a so-called debt to GDP ratio by a country level, China is number 2, almost number 2 in the world. Number 1 is Japan, and Japan is still trying to repairing this bubble they had making in 70s and 80s. And China is approaching this high debt situation. So they had high growth, high investment, over-investment, and high debt economy. And they are not trying to fix it. They are making it worse. So that is the Chinese situation right now. Debt to GDP ratio is surpassing United States over the past several years already. So we are very concerned in the United States. We are very concerned about our high debt, but China, they are not.
They're over 300% or something like that.
Yes, it's about 300%. You know, including the government, central government, local government, corporation, household.
And banks as well. Does it include banks?
Oh no, the ratio doesn't.
I guess since they lie about their GDP numbers too, yeah, that they might have a way higher debt to GDP ratio. That makes sense.
The banks, there is interbank lending. It doesn't include that. It's just pure corporation. But yeah, if the debt is from the banking to the local government, it will be included.
So including all of their debt.
Yes.
And what are they hoping to achieve? So are they trying to take over manufacturing, but they're getting hit by tariffs too?
That's right. I had a conversation with my colleague at UCLA Anderson School. He also understands the situation in China, very bad situation in terms of their economy, because usually in this kind of balance sheet recession, you are not seeing consumption grow, you are not seeing the investment. So what happened right now is China, on the one hand, they are encouraging this advanced manufacturing investment, so they will boost the GDP. You know, if you are throwing the money to this AI center building, semiconductor factory building, yeah, you're going to create some kind of economic activity and employment along the way. On the other hand, you know, after this factory finish, they are going to produce product, right? So you will see this production supply increase, and they will contribute to the economy if you can sell it. So right now the situation is China is facing very weak domestic demand, and that is very natural. You know, after this real estate bubble, nobody had actual money to buy things. So what happened to them is they are exporting this excess capacity to the rest of the world. And United States, I think, is very smart. They already impose all kinds of guardrail, you know, like a tariff. For example, in 2024, Biden administration just imposed this 100% tariff on Chinese EV cars and some kind of battery. So basically, it's just totally prevent any kind of Chinese imports. And European country in recent years, they started to realize the potential problem from Chinese exports. So they are also imposing tariff on EV export from China.
Yeah, and what does Canada do? Oh, let in the Chinese EVs with all their spying technology into the fucking country. It's just totally fucking retarded.
But they are using more moderate measurement. Unlike a United States 100% tariff, they are using some kind of so-called countervailing tariff. You know, they did this research, say, oh, okay, this company, you might have this unfair subsidy from the government, so we are going to impose 17%, 27% tariff. So as a result, in the United States, we don't see any Chinese car at all. But in Europe, we are seeing very comparative, very inexpensive EV car entering the European market, like UK, Brazil, Belgium,
Australia has a lot
Germany, and so on and so forth. So eventually, it's going to impact those domestic car producers.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Some people will look at these tariffs and say this is not good for the global economy. What are your thoughts on that?
Wow, that is a big question. I would say
I have to just go to the bathroom. I have to pee. Might have to poop. But I definitely have to pee. I will be right back. Might have to pee and or poop. YouTube's really fucking weird. If you don't talk, it says your audio bitrate is low. It's like maybe I'm just not yapping.
In the ideal world, indeed, tariff is not good. It's not ideal. But the problem is that we are not living in the ideal world. All right. So, so for example, I can tell you one of the big mistake people think about tariff, including my colleagues, all kinds of economists, they believe tariff is distortive, and that is true. And then they had all kinds of when I was teaching undergrad, economics, international trade, you probably had taken some kind of class. And then they also
They always talk about free trade.
Yeah, tariff is bad. But actually, that kind of concept is based on so-called balanced trade. What is balanced trade? It means as a whole, most countries have balanced trade. They export and then they import. So they don't have a significant, say, trade surplus and trade deficit. But that is not a situation nowadays. For example, I give you one example. Last year, 2025, United States had a trade deficit up to $1.1 or $1.2 trillion. That's United States against the rest of the world. Trade deficit. On the other hand, China had 1.1 trillion trade surplus against the world. So that is the problem. So ideally, if we all follow this Adam Smith, this kind of free trade, then that would be good. But the reality is we had this trade imbalance. And if you ask me why we had this trade imbalance, so kind of going back to the situation facing China right now. So I've been saying China has seen this kind of so-called, I call it internal imbalance. So they had this high saving, high investment, low consumption, all right? And we can explain why this is the
Dude, you gave me a dono that was like just sounded fucking schizophrenic, and you gave me a bunch of links. I'm just not looking at that. And never said SSRIs can't make people homicidal. I'm sure you can get a bunch of weird ass fucking side effects from a bunch of medications. So I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Does this guy have some kind of fucking mental problem?
The case, I can say in a simple way, in a nutshell, the Chinese government has this policy goal and mentality to pursue high growth whatsoever. And you say why they are trying
why
to...
are they doing that? Yeah.
Because for whatever reason, probably is a kind of a deep agenda by the Chinese Communist Party. They want to be number one in the world. They want to surpass U.S. economy in a shorter time. So they can do whatever they need, try to boost this high economic growth through high investment. So in the beginning, right after 1978 Chinese reform, it was pretty successful because at that time the big environment in China is they had a severe underinvestment. So whatever they invest, government subsidy, it was very productive. But right now it's not the case. Right now they already achieved this investment equilibrium, but they are still continue to do this investment. And the return, in the finance, we know corporations need to do this calculation very carefully. Just like in recent 2 years, people are very concerned about the U.S. AI data center investment. Are they going to produce the return or not down the road? And we are calculating. We're very careful. Everybody's watching. Wall Street, is watching. If you are reckless, the market will punish you. But that never happened in China. Government had this goal. Say, let's do it. Let's invest in EV. Let's invest in solar panel. Let's invest in battery. and then they all just jump in. Right now, they are investing.
Well, they have done great things with battery technology, particularly with making them way cheaper. So that was actually a good move.
AI data center, they are investing in semiconductor industry. So all those investment, you can see no economic plan, no business calculation, and then overinvestment will result in very low investment return or negative return in the long run. Anyway, going back, what happened in China is they had this goal. They want to boost the GDP growth, but they didn't look at the whole picture, and they are continue doing that. It's very sad situation. In fact, the government has been talking about this kind of concern for a long time. So in their government official meeting, they say, "Oh, we had this internal imbalance. We need to fix it. More than 10 years ago already. We need to boost our consumption." But at the same time, they are still pursuing high economic growth. They will never work.
Is it that it's in their policy that they are not boosting consumption, or is it that it's just their goals? It's not aligned with their goals. You mentioned they want to be number one in the world.
That's right, because so there's no panacea. It's like so right now they are in this period from 2020.
Chinese consumers aren't spending because they're fucking broke. They don't have any money.
6 to 2030. This is so-called fifth 5-year plan. Usually the West doesn't have these kind of things because economy is market economy. Basically, it's not like there's a central government guiding the economy.
No, the GDP growth will be like this.
But China is still doing that. So their goal is like a 5% growth. Used to be 8%, used to be 10% whatsoever. So when you had this kind of, if you ask me how do I know one day the Chinese government's concept mentality totally change, is they totally abolish this kind of 5-year plan. As long as you had this plan, all the government level, they know that they had this plan. So they had a way to try to, or pressure try to achieve this government policy goal. As long as you have that, explicitly and implicitly, the government resources will move from household sector to the corporate sector, because usually this goal has to be achieved by investment, by manufacture sector, by this production. So it's corporation sector. So if you are in the category of this kind of policy advanced industry, you can get free money, free land, subsidy from government very easily and produce this.
What color is your favorite number? Purple.
Мы в Затон поедем, блядь, ебало, серьезно.
Okay, thanks, dude.
Things without any kind of consequence at all. But the money, the resources, is just limited amount. And if government use this money to this corporation investment production, what happens is it kind of cloud out the household income and then household consumption. So that is the situation facing China right now. So even government has been saying we need to boost household consumption, but at the same time, you are diverting all the resources to corporation investment and production. It's not gonna work. I think they still don't understand that. Yeah.
And you have a unique way of looking at the numbers that are coming out of China, because you don't trust them. Can you tell us what you see and how real is these numbers? So they set the goals at 5% a year. Are they meeting that?
That's right. Yeah, it's kind of interesting because over the years, I noticed if you look at the Chinese GDP growth data from the Chinese government over the past, say, 20 years, you notice that it's very smooth. Even like they are slowing down after the global financial crisis, but their slowdown is like very smooth. Like 1 year is 8.5%, next year is 8%, next year is 7.5%. It's so smooth. So it's kind of weird. And then even like a former premier of China, they didn't trust their own statistics. So I developed, over the past several years, I developed this very simple model. So basically, I look at the 4 or 5 variables, and those variables are less likely to be manipulated by the Chinese government because those variables are related to the war. For example, I look at energy consumption, CO2 emission, the trade, international trade, export and import in China, and also housing price. All those kind of variables are more transparent. So I look at those variables, and then I collect the similar variable across major top 20, 25 economies in the world. And I build this model, linear regression model, to look at the relationship between these, I call it 4 variables and their GDP growth. And I find they are highly correlated. It's not causation, it's just correlation, all right? These 4 variables. And then I got this kind of model parameter coefficient, and then I applied it into China. So I just kind of put away the Chinese government GDP growth. I just look at these 4 input annual growth rate in China, and then I use, if these 4 inputs growth rate are like this, how does that, based on other 20, developed and developing countries, how does that translate to GDP growth? And then I do that, and then I show, wow, interesting. If you believe my model, actually Chinese GDP growth were more volatile, not like a smooth. And then, not just that, we noticed that Chinese official data in terms of their GDP growth were overestimated by about 2 percentage points on average a year.
On average per year.
Yeah, for example, so over the past 3 years, 2023, 2024, 2025, Chinese number of GDP growth is like 5.2%, 5%, 5%. So it's kind of interesting. 2024 is 5%. 2025 is 5%, almost exactly the identical number. And this year, this first quarter, again, is 5%, which is just like their government goal, right? So it's kind of pretty amazing, this largest economy, they just follow this 5%. But my 4 inputs number, actually Chinese GDP growth were just 2% or 3%. Yeah, so kind of that has this kind of pattern to kind of smooth out their GDP growth to overstate their economic growth.
So you mentioned the Chinese government is actually investing a lot into manufacturing now. They're diverting the capital to manufacturing, creating a new bubble. You also mentioned that if there's no ROI in the investment, there's going to be losses and resources not used well. Who pays for all of this? How does that work?
Eventually, the whole sector in China need to pay for it.
Like average Chinese people end up paying for it because they...
Yes. Let me give you an example. If you ask any Chinese, they know this word. In English translation, is called involution. I'm not sure if you heard of this word. In Chinese word,
I haven't heard of it, no.
It's called 内卷. What does that mean? It means it's a very internal competitive. So if you go to China nowadays, you see, for example, there were 500 EV automakers before pandemic. 500 plus. Wow. And then over the years, it reduced to 100 plus. and most of them are not making money. So you say, what's going on? As I told you, because Chinese government had this goal, so the policy is favor this advanced manufacturing. So a lot of people, business people, are trying to take advantage of this government favor, right? They can get a subsidy, whatsoever. They can get a free loan, but they are not making money. So we got these hundreds of competitors in the same market. So they are cutthroat price competition. So very few make money. So that's why they are very aggressive in the international market, because for the international consumer, the Chinese car is very cheap. So this evolution is kind of widespread in China. So for example, like in the United States, we had this Uber driver, right? You can deliver passenger, you can deliver food. In China, we had even more. They actually, some statistics say, actually, they had like 4 times of capacity people doing this kind of delivery, these ride-sharing things. Because again, the Chinese government's policy is favor production, favor investment. I told you, Chinese investment share is, as a GDP, is 40%. 40. We had never seen a country like that. And it has been like this for 20 years.
And what's a normal ratio for?
Like in the United States, it's 18%. 1/8. And then people are crazy. This is too high. AI investment is a bubble. 18% is less than half of the Chinese level. So resources are towards this kind of investment and production. So households do not have enough income, right? And then there are a lot of competition. And then so corporation, they are in this upper hand, right? Because everybody is competing with each other. Yeah.
Hello VG, I have a lot of questions I'd like your input on, but I can't fit some of them in Streamlabs input due to character limit. How can I send them to you? I was wondering if you'd consider private consultations. I'd be willing to pay for that BTW.
I can do that. Just message me on Instagram. If you want a consult for something, like, you just mention what you want the consult on. I'm not writing anybody like training programs or anything now, but I can answer like, questions related to it. And like, obviously I'm not an all-knowing, omniscient being, so there's like some topics I'm not going to know shit about. So if you ask me about like quantum physics, I'm not going to be able to tell you anything. But you can just message me on Instagram. Thanks for the donation, Dylan.
They can cut a wage whatsoever. This high Chinese economic growth, like over the decades, over 10%, eventually they are not really equally shared by the Chinese people. So they are still working very hard, but earning very minimum income and wage. You probably heard this term, I don't know if you had heard of that, it's called 996. Have you heard of that? 996?
No.
Yeah, 996 is a term. In the tech sector in China, you need to work from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
6 days a week.
6 days a week. That is norm, yeah. So if you go to interview, 996, you need to know that. So there's no life, there's no leisure life, no time to consume. But because the whole country is very distorted by this kind of very unrealistic goal, trying to push high growth for a long time and without considering the economic reality. So the situation is households do not get enough resources and income, and they need to work harder
to earn
more hours to earn this kind of income. So it's kind of...
In pretty much every situation, testosterone is a better antidepressant than SSRIs. You naturally increase serotonin production when you take testosterone, so why the fuck would you take an SSRI? and it has just because of how it interacts with the serotonin receptor, it has a bunch of side effects that you likely don't want, like the sexual dysfunction.
Vicious cycle facing China today.
So what are they hoping to achieve when they're doubling down on the manufacturing? They're putting.
You want to know how to take testosterone, rather steroids, check out Dr. Todd Lee's Anabolic University. He has a bunch of videos on it.
All this money to manufacturing. Are they hoping to gain the global market, and then from there they think that's going to do it for them, and they're going to get out of the real estate bubble that just burst?
Yes, exactly. This is their goal. So, so if you look at the post-war economic growth in the war, in the earlier stage is United States as an example. You know, since Industrial Revolution, it was United Kingdom first, and then United States, European country, and then Japan. And after World War II, you know, we see this Japan's Germany recovery very fast from the war, and then you see these Asian tigers, and then you see China, and nowadays Vietnam, India. And one thing for their amazing economic growth is they focus on manufacturing sector, because manufacturing sector is kind of a very good way to let working class, to let middle class to expand their income in a very short period of time, because the nature of the manufacturing sector is high productivity, because you had a machine, you know, and then you push the button, it can produce the product and sell it to the world. So the manufacturing sector is very.
Rank these manga series from best to worst: Chainsaw Man, Berserk, Gantz, Dorohedoro. Also, were you a good student during grade school? I was always a horrible, horrible student. Never gave two fucking shits about school, dude. I haven't really read Dorohedoro, so I can't really rank it. But I would say Berserk, Gantz, Chainsaw Man, and then I guess Dorohedoro, but I haven't read Dorohedoro, so I can't really comment on that too much. I've only watched the manga, and I was starting, or sorry, I only watched the anime, and I was starting to read the manga, but then I got, like, caught up with shit. The anime Dorohedoro is great. So, the anime is, or if the manga is as good as the anime, it's pretty fantastic, but yeah, that's how I'd rank them. Thanks, Son Goku.
Very important if you, a country, want to climb up the so-called supply chain value chain. And China knows that. And it has been enjoyed the benefit of this climbing out the manufacturing.
Those side effects do not necessarily go away once adapted, and why the fuck would you even bother with those side effects if you could just take testosterone? And again, if you adapt to it, that means the benefits you want from it, you'll also likely adapt to, and then the medication won't be as effective or work at all, which is the case for most people. So why wouldn't you just take testosterone that improves sexual function, makes you more jacked, more motivated? It works on more neurotransmitters too. It's serotonergic, dopaminergic. It also acts on it's a really hard word. Norepinephrine. So it just increases happiness, motivation, drive, overall feelings of well-being, increases energy. Again, helps build muscle mass, improve sexual function, and those benefits persist. Whereas with SSRIs, just because of the way it interacts with the neurotransmitter, your body just makes adaptations to it, and then it, for most people, doesn't work anymore, or at least not as well. So it's just a stupid drug. Like, I would always recommend using testosterone to treat depression, especially in men, versus an SSRI. It's just fucking stupid. You're talking about a drug that has a worse side effect profile, has worse tolerability, and is less effective for most people, and has less overall benefits. So why would I recommend a worse drug?
Sector. So right now they are aiming at this so-called advanced manufacturing sector. So the direction is correct, but the problem is...
I have a hard time believing testosterone would be enough for my brain. You've never even used it, so... just stupid.
You know, for China, they just overdo it by a large scale. Yeah.
So the people cannot get to enjoy the middle class, and they don't get to become consumers. Is that what they overdo the investments because they have the goals to bypass the U.S. That's why they can't.
Exactly.
And what do you think will happen from here? Do you have any predictions or any thoughts, like where would things go with the Chinese economy?
So as we said in the beginning, right now they are making another bubble, right, in the manufacturing sector, in AI. So you can see in the next few years, right now, United States in the leading position in terms of building this AI capacity, AI data center, GPU center, and China doesn't want that. You know, China doesn't, for sure, they want to catch up. You know, so you can predict. You know, China is gonna invest a lot of money on this data center. I think they are already doing that. You know, but the problem is they don't have the equipment, IC chip. So probably they will try to figure out a way to do this on their own. I think it's very sad, you know, because that is not healthy, that is not balanced, and eventually the bubble, by definition, the bubble will burst in one day. Yeah, even like in the United States, this is a very natural thing, but China is in a total different scale. So
because of the huge debt to GDP, is that
the scale of their overinvestment is unprecedented in the human history. So
issues I have are severe depression, social anxiety, depersonalization. Those are literally all low testosterone symptoms. And just because your testosterone's in the normal range, that doesn't mean your testosterone is at an appropriate range for you.
So right now they are putting themselves, you know, into another bubble. It's very sad because they are still trying to get out of this real estate bubble they create, and they are making another one. In the long run, it's not good. The only thing they are trying to maintain the Chinese economy balance is this export. They are exporting their capacity to the world, to Asia, to Europe, to Latin America. I don't know. As I told you, some country, they already had this
Thanks for the dumb comments.
to prevent this Chinese import. You know, people are talking about this so-called China shock. You know, we had China shock 1.10, which destroyed a lot of United States manufacturing in the early 2000s. And we are seeing this China shock 2.0 coming. And for some countries, if they are not reacting to that, they're going to see their domestic manufacturing totally destroyed by China. So maybe for some countries, they say, I don't care, you know, we don't need a manufacturing sector, then it's fine. But otherwise...
Okay, dude, you are so outrageously stupid you don't even realize, like, what you're fucking saying. This is like saying if somebody's diabetic and their body doesn't produce enough insulin and they're, like, going blind because their blood sugar is too fucking high, and then telling them, oh, you don't need insulin. What's better is actually improving yourself and, like, trying to improve your intelligence and physical capabilities and spirituality. The problem is they don't produce enough fucking insulin, and they need to take insulin. Same with testosterone. If you have an androgen deficiency, you need to take testosterone. The stupid gay shit you just said has nothing to do with androgen deficiency. You fucking idiot.
Yeah, it's very, I always say it's a very imbalanced situation. Inside China, outside China.
And if this bubble bursts in a few years, how would it look like for China? Would there be a currency issue? Would there be default on debt? What does that look on the other end of the bubble?
Yeah, I would say a lot of people have said because of this high debt situation in China, maybe we will be seeing some kind of financial crisis in China. I don't think so, because what happens is over the year, China had built this very competitive manufacturing capacity, meaning they can export to the rest of the world, as we just talked about. At the same time, China accumulated a lot of foreign currency. And this kind of thing, probably this advantage will continue. So as long as China had a foreign currency, mostly US dollar. Right now, they are trying to buy some gold, but mostly US dollars. They had a way to maintain their stability of a currency and prevent some kind of a financial crisis like South Korea or Thailand saw in 1997, 1998. So I'm not concerned about that. It would be more like Japan's. It's more of imploding, situation, because
so it will go to zero growth for many years.
Yeah, zero growth, because if they don't have the money, Chinese central bank will just print money. So they can always increase their debt level. So, but in terms of currency, in terms of financial system, Chinese government had all kinds of way to prevent financial crisis. For example, like in 2008, U.S. had this bank run, but whatever. Chinese government can say no more withdraw from the people, from the bank, then you cannot withdraw. No withdraw, no bank run. So they had this kind of way to control the economy. So
now, what do you recommend with what you've seen? Do you have any thoughts for investors or people that are looking into or have investment in China or trading with China?
I would say, as I say, Chinese economy is very imbalanced. In fact, I have been talking about this for more than 10 years. I have been warning this Chinese bubble, real estate bubble, for a long time. If you listen to me, you probably will not incur this kind of loss if you had money investing in China. So I would say just try to, keep your distance from anything related to China. You don't want to have this investment relationship with China. One thing I haven't talked about is over the past 30 years, we have seen a lot of cases, foreign company doing this FDI investment in China because Chinese government sending out this subsidy, the land is free, factory they will provide, whatever, So like even Elon Musk kind of got into this trap. Elon Musk invests their EV technology in China
If you invest in China, basically you're just throwing your money away to the CCP. They have weird regulations with foreign investment. I don't know why anybody invests in that country. It's fucking weird.
2017, 2018. But eventually, you are gonna...
Yeah, I already reacted to the Vince Goodrum video.
Developed your biggest competitor down the road. And China is very good at that. Chinese people are very smart, and then they had this huge market, and they had a government. So I would say, just be careful.
So if you build something there, it might end up become your competition.
Yes.
Or people that you hire, they might go start.
And you might not survive. Like the EV situation.
They might take it from you.
That's right. Like Japan's high-speed rail, all kinds of things is the same thing. So I would say investor-business relationship, just keep your distance from China. It it's a totally different animal. Yeah, so you need to be very careful about that. And then in terms of financial investment, actually you can see United States over the years, S&P 500, they had this kind of very decent growth, annually, like a 10%, 20% growth. But if you look at the Chinese, like Shanghai Stock Index, they barely change. Over the past 20 years, they barely change. So you can see something is going on, something is wrong.
Yeah, we're playing this game with trainers. This game is too bullshit and tedious to not play with trainers.
Olivia says she needs my help to leave this place, to get away from the Baron. She injected me with something. Olivia, someone at the town hall got bit and took his own life. Don't you have any antizin here?
Antizin's a relic from the past. It was just a suppressant. People were still turning. And it ran out years ago.
So, getting bit means it's over.
UV light can buy some time. But you never know when it'll happen.
Maybe.
I'm so sorry. I know you two were close.
Would he just give up like that? We could have amputated his arm, or at least tried.
You had something you wanted to talk about?
That creature that attacked us, it followed the Baron's men here. They were desperate for shelter, and when we opened the outer door, the monster followed them into the courtyard. It attacked them viciously and moved so quickly, and we were lucky to get away. I still don't know why it didn't attack us, but I worry it might return, and I was wondering if you would be willing to hunt it down.
Maybe. But if I do, I'd need you to do something for me.
And what might that be?
I don't know yet, but I'll let you know when I do.
The sheriff last saw it running across the rooftops. You can probably pick up its trail there. Be careful, though. Volatiles own the night. If they spot you, your only chance is to flee and find shelter in a place with UV protection. Or try to hide until it's safe.
Oh yes, has the dumbest fucking map layout.
3 meters tall.
Friends like these, I'd even charge into
You look tired. Just saying.
Where, like...
Fucking apologize for being alive.
No, this game is getting worse. That's why we're playing with fucking trainers and shit.
That sure tore through here.
Can't even fucking see anything. Why is this so fucking dark? Like, this... It's like weirdly dark. Oh, brilliant. You can't change the fucking... These things fucking die? Are there like an infinite number of them? What am I even supposed to do? Okay, let's do no reload. Ah, fuck. I'm not playing this stupid game. This game is a piece of shit. And we're uninstalling that. Oh my god, that's just fucking dog shit. Wow, that is dog shit, dude. Why would anybody play this dog shit fucking game? That is stupid. You literally don't even know where the fuck to go. The map, like where it tells you to go on the map is so fucking confusing. And then they just bombard you with these like enemies that are practically impossible to fucking kill, that are infinite. Like, fuck you. Just, it's like the most stupid, tedious fuck shit of a fucking game. Like, that's just fucking stupid. I'm not wasting my time with that trash. That's like a game for idiots that have too much fucking time on their hands. Like, that's actually just stupid.
From being overrun against a numerically superior enemy that outnumbers you 10 to 1. That's what Ukraine's 47th Mechanized Brigade soldiers were tasked with on this mission to defend Avdiivka. This was an extremely dangerous mission for Ukrainian troops at a time when Russia still had huge reserves of heavy armored tanks, while Western vehicles were only just starting to arrive. The infantry of the 47th have to face down a massive armored assault head-on against them. So today, we've added to the raw combat footage with map animations of the battlefield to help show the kind of tactics and strategies that Ukrainian soldiers are deploying in order to better understand modern warfare. I'm Chris Cappy, former infantryman and war correspondent.
I'm not playing a game where you just have to like run around and run away from enemies. It's just fucking boring.
Fire around at the subscribe button to get 3 rundowns each week. At dawn, use this early morning hour to assault. You can see the Russian troops are pouring in, converging on the positions of the Ukrainian soldiers. The defenders include the 110th Mechanized Brigade, the separate Presidential Brigade, and the 47th themselves. The lead Russian tank has a plow fitted to the front of the vehicle, and it's paving a safe path through the minefield so that the rest of the Russian vehicles can follow on. You can see tracer rounds from the Russian vehicles' autocannon shells and giant explosions going off, showing just how much heavy firepower is getting thrown at that Ukrainian trench line in the tree line that you see there. The Russian troops are laying down this fire to try to cover their advance. Ukrainian troops fire back. You can see an anti-tank guided munition fly by the Russian column there. But that missile misses its target, and we'll see what the Ukrainians do next turns Russia's breakthrough into a deadly trap. Doing the research for these videos, as you can imagine, involves sifting through just a metric.
Tests can make you irritable. That's like saying literally any drug can do anything. Testosterone is not associated with irritability.
Give ground news a shot. Then the Ukrainians launch cluster munitions that pepper the Russian advance but don't score any knockout blows, because those munitions are best for taking out infantry. There are multiple explosions 50 to 100 meters away from the Russian targets. The scale of this attack is just incredible. As the Russians breach the first defensive line, the infantry...
This might be a little risky to watch because of the stupid YouTube thing.
You have the mentality that I had back in my bodybuilding days. No one could tell me shit. I was gonna achieve that goal, and I was gonna be the best I could be, which in my eyes is gonna be the best in the world.
The more you put into anything, the more you get out.
Gotta hit that trend hard.
growing, start getting those results. That's the one that's going to be a champion. That's the one that's going to fulfill their dream.
I'm really trying to increase the weight on my bent row right now.
This is the intro. We are filming, aren't we? This is the intro. So this is organic. We just want to have a proper catch up. Like, listen, it ain't all about training around here. So yeah, we're just discussing the Operation Monarch on Warzone, which was pretty. I thought it was quite fun. Yeah, it's better for like newbie players like me and Louis. I think all the people that have been playing Call of Duty for years are like, this is just gimmicky and crap. But for me and you, it's fun.
I found it quite fun.
It was a spectacle. I thought it was quite cool. Played a few games yesterday. I played a couple this morning. Oh,
I saw you went on.
Wait, it was really funny. I was streaming this morning, and one person joined in and was like, "This ain't the Hollingshead, is it?" I swear on my life, I got it on stream. Yeah, I swear on my life, I got it on stream, and I was like,
"What did you say? It's just a soundboard."
It was just a soundboard, and I was like, "Yeah, man." And then he was like, oh, "What?" And then he started talking about training and stuff. So I was just like, that's the first time I've ever had that, because I've changed my name on Warzone from. I was the Shed, and then I was Taken but not Curd.
Yeah.
Now I'm just Hollingshead.
Oh, okay.
So he obviously saw my name, and he was in my squad.
That's pretty
and he was like, right. And then we ran like 3 games together, and we did all right. And, so it was all right. I got my first fan in Warzone today. I don't know what you've been here posing the client.
Yeah, just posing with the client, do some rowing.
Cool. Do some rowing. So he's obviously getting more into the fitness side of things now. He's getting a bit older, trying to look after his body for the years ahead. Got to think about what's the next step in life, Broken spine. It's on the men.
It's not even on the men.
How's the transition for you? You enjoying it?
I quite enjoy it. I'll have to enjoy it. If I don't mentally, force myself to do it and get some enjoyment out of it, then I'll just be stuck in this cycle.
Does it fill the same void? Does it feel good? Like that kind of training, doing some different stuff, does it feel just as rewarding? In different ways?
I don't know, it's still too early on. Because I still want to see changes in my physique.
Yeah.
And so going from that's the main goal, isn't it?
Yeah.
To see changes in your physique, to seeing changes in performance.
Yeah. Measuring
the rowing speeds and the rowing times and stuff, and trying to beat them is just different. But if I can still get some change in my physique as well, then
bonus.
Yeah.
I think it's a good topic to talk about, because obviously there's been a lot of people changing what they're doing now. Good friend of ours, Tim Aspinall, kind of walked away from bodybuilding on the back of a lot of things that have been happening, which I totally get. Louis' reasons aren't the same. He's not fearing for his life or anything. Just sometimes changes is good and necessary. And I respect every craft when it comes to training, whatever you're trying to achieve, whatever you're trying to do.
If you could go way back in time to ancient Mesopotamia for one day, what would you do? Say you could bring whatever equipment you wanted. Would you try to teach the ancient people about modern tech, or would you spend your time terrorizing them?
I think I'd just try to not get boiled in a pot while I'm alive. Yeah, I think as soon as you try to tell anybody about electricity, they'll accuse you of witchcraft and then just boil you. So I think I'd maybe just relax, eat some dates, smoke some opium, and let the chimpanzees do what chimpanzees do. Thanks, Jessica. Morphin, time to eat, Richard. So it's just going to be a butt. Oh, okay. Kevin Levrone was so fucking ridiculously huge. He was stupid fucking strong, too. It'd be fun being able to get that jacked. We'll see. Maybe one day. Thanks, Morphin.
Getting heavy now. One set 6 to 8. One cluster set 4x4. I have to reduce that now. That's quite hard. 3, 2, 1.
It only does one set sometimes.
Rest pause set now. 10 to 12 reps, repeat rest pause until I got a rest pause until I can only do 2 reps.
Incline dumbbell flies are goated.
Little pauses on these ones now.
Also, decline flies are great. I hate those converging machines. Oh, those converging machines are fucking terrible.
Off, that was fucking heavy. That was heavy, man.
Apparently, Lavrone really liked Tren and Anadrol.
I'll do it the other way around this time. I'll superset the back way. So when I'm ready to go again, I'll do the dip into the fly. So you settled in already, innit? Yeah. Feels like we've been training in this facility now almost indefinitely for a while. It's because it still feels like home, I suppose. So like I say, new gym. Doesn't feel new because it's still the same soul, same spirit, but it is new. Last set on chest, and then we've got 2 shoulder exercises to do.
Collagen supplements probably don't do shit for improving collagen strength. Or, sorry, tendon strength. Testosterone, boldenone, growth hormone, anavar, nandrolone, they help with collagen synthesis. And there's 2 things you want to do to strengthen tendons. One is you want to lift with at least 80% of your 1 rep max. And isometric exercises along with slow eccentrics help increase tendon strength. And you also want to do very, very, very high rep work, regularly, to get blood flow into the tendon. So tendons don't have really any direct blood flow, but what they do is they basically soak up nutrients passively. So if you do like a set of 100 with a very light weight, that helps get nutrients into the tendon. So that's what I do for my knees. Just every day I just go down to my leg extension machine. I'll just do 100 reps with like no weight on the leg extension just to get blood flow around my knees. And that seems to help.
Shoulders is an area where we're trying to work a bit more on me. I'm narrow clavically, so you can't make
stretching probably doesn't do much, but might help.
Oh, it's better. Oh. Oh. So as you can see with the dip there, we were trying to actually hit more chest. That's why I'm leaning over. Go back to the fly now. Right, chesticle's done. Let's see what we've got for tricep. Normally it's a press and a lateral. So, yeah, so shoulder, it's overhead press. 4 sets of 8 to 12 with 40 seconds rest. So it's like not overly heavy, just a lot of control. And then machine side laterals, slow and controlled as well. So the emphasis is being slow and controlled. I'll have a little drink, and then we'll probably use the Gym 80 shoulder press or the Prime, whatever's free. So I'm gonna do a little counter on this one because we've got a 40-second break, and it's 12 reps each one roughly. So it's not a heavy movement. Slow and controlled is the method.
Yeah, those converging machines, I just can't get into them. I do like these. I've used these before. They feel nice. You know, if price was no object or anything, I'd probably get one of these. Just low on the totem pole for what I'd prioritize for home gym equipment.
No more on that. It's just touch-up shoulders. So I trained shoulders 2 days ago. Shoulders and triceps. And then I do hams and biceps. Then I do chest. A little bit extra delts. Then I take a day off. Do legs, then back, then day off again. So that's my split in a minute. It's like 5 days. Now over.
Yeah, I think he said he was eating 5,500 calories a day. And apparently for a guy his size, that's low. A lot of dudes who are like 300 pounds, they're eating like 6,500 plus. Just ridiculous amount of food. At that point, your food bill is way, way higher than your gear costs. I don't even know how you put down that much food, dude. Bro, it's like hard for me to get over 2,000 calories. Like, it's actually hard for me to eat that much. Pretty fucking ridiculous.
All right, we're here at the Temple of Gains booth. All right.
Hooked up to Voltras only.
Okay.
Meaning that's the way they're intended to be used.
Right.
We have our plate-loaded and selectorized counterparts also here. So every one of these Voltra machines, we also have the plate-loaded machine, so you could get, or the selectorized machine.
Okay.
The Multi-Flight uses the Voltra retrofit kit. So if you've already had the Multi-Flight from us, you could take off the weight stack, put that mount, and use that.
Okay.
The benefits on a selectorized machine is you could change the resistance curve,
Right.
change the loading profile, micro load, and all from the touch of a button. So
Right.
very cool. The leg extension leg curl is hooked up on a climbing pulley, so it's at a 1 to 2.
Ah, okay.
Lets you load heavier and again use the same
Yeah.
resistance curve modulation. Then we got our pendulum squat. The big benefit for the plate loaded machines is how much space you're saving. So on the pendulum squat that we have over there, we have all the weight horns and we have everything all connected, and you see how
Right.
much
Yeah.
space everything takes up. Here we don't have the counterbalance arm, we don't have the weight horns. It's all connected to this mount, and it's on a bearing, so it'll align with the direction of the pendulum arc, which is super neat.
Right.
So that's the beginning of our Voltra section. Here we have our Omni Press. One of the things about having this at the trade show is we got to keep monitoring this stuff and change all the
Somebody
settings.
likes
Stuff. Wall. It saves you so much space versus having the weight horns. Then you need to consider,
This sounds like a pain in the ass. So you'd have to have 2 Voltras, which are like 1,500 each. And you have to keep them charged.
get around,
Right.
get that. Of course, most people are just gonna have.
That just sounds like, why? Are you that lazy to change weight plates? That's fucking bizarre.
We have our quad send.
Right.
A lot of content on the quad send, so you can just look up YouTube quad send, you'll see it.
Right.
But we have our Voltra quad send and we have our big quad send. And again, we brought 2 so you can see the size difference. This machine lets you load up to the equivalent of 650 pounds, not tested theoretically,
Right.
probably close or less based on friction, all these other factors, but you see what a compact form factor you have for the machine.
Right.
Pro, big bodybuilder, he's got an awesome line of products. Dress machine. What's really cool, it has a locking mechanism to prevent this from traveling when you're getting in and out of the machine. So you just flip these levers, you can start using it. And we've got it with, we call the half moon pad.
Okay.
Super comfortable and nice for your spine. Get
right.
back support and it has the arch of the pad. You could also use the shoulder pad assembly with the flat pad, but everyone that's tried it so far prefers the feel of that pad.
Okay.
And that's the booth.
Okay, and then one of the things I noticed that a lot of the plate-loaded machines, or at least the ones that I could notice, there's still Vulture mounts on there.
Yes. So over there we have a plate-loaded machine that if you wanted to use with the Vultra. So another thing to note is if you want to use this machine with the Vultra but also use it with plates, you could
Right.
put the mounts and then you could use an attachment like the weight horn to
Right.
carabiner. And you'd still be able to use it and you'd still be able to load plates.
Right.
So somewhat of a hybrid mode.
Right.
Those machines we don't have Vultras for, but just to show you, if you wanted to mount the Vultra here, you could do the same thing, or
Right.
you could swap it with the actual bracket and not have to, you would never be able to use plates, but you
Right.
minimize the footprint. So that's kind of the trade-off. It's space versus...
That just seems like way too much of a pain in the ass. Why not just use weight plates? Those are cats having a disagreement. Okay. I'm going to get to bed. Tomorrow might be a weird day. I'm supposed to train legs tomorrow. I'm not sure if I'm really going to be able to. Still have the... It's basically jumper's knee. It feels like it's almost all better. So... Yeah, if my legs are actually recovered tomorrow, I might just do like a lighter kind of, leg training day tomorrow. And I'll stream it, assuming that I can, even train. I kind of overdid the last leg training session I did. Just super retard fucking sore. Like I could feel that I overdid it. But if I'm recovered by tomorrow, then we'll do some leg training. If I'm not, then I'm not going to bother streaming it. I'll probably just do some like stretching, mobility stuff and, crap like that. And then, if I have free time in the afternoon, I'll probably just do a gaming stream or something. If not, then like I'll just do normal stream in the evening. So we'll see. But big thanks to everyone who donated on Streamlabs. Really appreciate it. You asked me 5 things. What fucking 5 things? like looking through you literally didn't ask me anything. Anyway, hope you all had fun. Thanks again, everybody. In any case, I'll